All right. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. If anyone in chat can hear me, just push 1. All right, we got confirmation from Faber. All right, thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 358, Black Tech Talk. Hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. There's a docket in the description beneath the video. If you want to engage in the discussion and contribute, there will be a link in the chat for you to jump on the panel with. Make sure you raise your hand when you do click on the link so that one of us can acknowledge you and bring you onto the panel. All right, let me grab the first item on the docket and then we'll get started. All right. All right, this first one is actually give me 1 second. Let me do something real quick. All right, just as an FYI, if you want to get into IT and need some IT mentorship, we do offer that here. If you are trying to transition from one IT role to another, we also offer IT coaching. Um, we also have the ability to offer resume reviews and the salary negotiation process and what it's like to deal with a recruiter. So if you want some of that done, you should talk to Nagone 11. He specializes in that. Or you can contact me too. All right, first item on the docket is from CNBC.com. The US has nearly 1 million open IT jobs. Here's how much it can pay off to switch industries into tech. I should have used that image. The tightness of the labor market has been making headlines all year, but perhaps the biggest talent crunch can be seen in the technology sector. US companies had about 918,000 unfilled IT jobs in the past 3 months, the Wall Street Journal reports, according to the federal employment data analyzed by CompTIA and IT Trade Association. Part of this has to do with companies simply investing more in tech to drive business initiatives, and as a result, having to build out those departments quickly. Every company is a tech company now. Mihal Patel, CEO of tech recruiting site Hired, tells CNBC Make It. Even if you're Capital One or Disney or American Express, you have to hire tech talent and you have to focus on building an employer brand and creating a funnel for talent. But while demand for tech workers has skyrocketed, job postings in the technology sector rose 32% in the first half of 2019 compared to the year prior. According to CompTIA, supply hasn't kept pace. According to the accounting for the 60,300 people who graduated with a computer science degree every year, 20,000 developers who complete coding boot camps, and even maxing out the 85,000 available H-1B visas to fill tech roles with international workers, that still leaves a major gap in talent. Companies are now spending more time and resources on competitive recruiting efforts. According to a 2019 report from ICIMS, a recruitment software provider, it took companies an average of 55 days to fill a tech role in 2016, but that jumped to 66 days in 2019. These vacancies are costly to the tune of about $680 in less revenue per day per vacancy, according to ICIMS. It's taking longer, it's harder, and we're finding fewer qualified applicants to fill those positions, says Kier Ajmura, Vice President of Infrastructure Shared Services with ICIMS. Beyond hiring and recruiting, one major way companies can bridge the tech shortage is to retrain current employees through internal mobility programs. Tony Bird, 27, has benefited from such initiatives firsthand. In 2017, he was working at a coffee shop on IBM's campus in Raleigh, North Carolina, but was unsatisfied with the direction his career was going. Though through networking with IBM staff, he realized working in tech was something he wanted to pursue and apply to the company's apprenticeship program. Bird left his barista job and excelled in the 1 year full-time program, and in August 2019 joined IBM's cloud projects team as a software engineer. He now earns just over 3 times what he made as a barista, which has afforded him more earning power to save for his 2 kids' college education and provide them opportunities he didn't have. He tells CNBC Make It that identifying his own interest in electronics, taking a few coding workshops on his own, and speaking with mentors in the field helped him realize it was the right move for him. I think most people are interested in technology, phones, computers, game systems, and graphics, he says, of easing into the field. He was motivated to master the technical skills in 1 year that most computer science grads learn in 4. I've invested a lot in my skills, studying, putting in extra hours. If you have the right skill set, that'll negotiate your career for you. Gabriel Gabrielle Hempel, 28, of Cincinnati, made the jump from working in pharmaceutical regulation to cybersecurity about 2 years ago. She paid $100 a month to enroll in the program with Cybrary, a crowdsourced cybersecurity and IT learning and career development platform. Within 8 months, she secured a role as a security analyst with Accenture, earning a pay bump of $40,000 more per year than her previous job. Within a year in the field, Hempel negotiated for a promotion to senior security analyst with Accenture, and she noticed recruiting efforts are night and day compared to her previous industry. Since there's such a need and it's so competitive, it's easy to compare and drive your salary and benefits up. Hempel says of her newfound earning power. She estimates the salary range for the next step in her career will amount to an additional $30,000 to $40,000 in pay. So you're talking $70,000 to $80,000 more than I was making in my last industry, which is a lot. Having a background in another field actually gave her an advantage, she says, and recruiters are generally more keen to bring non-tech talent into the fold. Recruiters have recruiters have said to me, we can teach people this tech skills, but we can't teach them to be interested and passionate, she explains. Hempel originally earned a degree in psychology and a minor in criminal justice. Bringing in a different perspective has been an asset to her work. Even when I started as a security analyst, I thought, why did you hire me? I have no experience in this field, she admits. But I have learned so much in the last year and a half, and everyone's unique background can bring something to this field. Security and tech are fields that touch every other field. Finance needs security. Healthcare needs security. Education needs technology. In addition to her day job, with Accenture, Hempel also does course development work for Cybrary to come full circle and encourage other people who are just getting started in the field. Indeed, raising awareness about the different specialties and opportunities within tech is another critical component to narrowing the tech gap among younger generations. Data from ICIMS indicates app software developers are the most sought after tech workers, making up nearly 1/3 of all tech openings. They earn a mean annual salary of $108,000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Roles in information security, system support, and network architecture are also in demand and command six-figure salaries. In some of the most competitive and pricey markets for tech, software engineers of varying specialties easily earn upwards of $150,000 according to hired data. So, wait. So, based on this article, um, we've talked about this a dozen times over and over and over. That, for one, let me say this: these tech jobs can be filled if they would just hire more Black people. That's about as simple as it's going to be. The article says that it took a guy, a brother, from being a barista at Starbucks to being a software engineer in 1 year. So they have ways to actually address this issue. They just don't want to. Racism still plays a role in a lot of the hiring decisions, but that doesn't mean that it can't be solved with you know knowledge sharing and open source development. So what's happening here is they're starting to figure out that we can take non-tech people and turn them into tech people. This works and then it doesn't work. So it works because you, if you have a fast learner, then they can actually pick up the stuff almost immediately. It almost doesn't work because not everyone has a passion for their non-career tracks. So if you have people who want to work at CVS, being a cashier or something like that for the rest of their, for the rest of their adulthood, that's all they're going to be. And taking them and trying to put them into that tech role is not going to help. So I think the article is actually pretty spot on. I do like it. I wish Nagon was here to really talk more to it from a recruiting standpoint, because he's talked about this many times before, that he has a dozen recs on his desk and he can't find people to fill the roles for. Bloodsport says, have anybody heard of Simply Learn? I haven't taken Simply Learn. I have heard of them. I haven't used it though. But yeah, it's a great article. I think they hit the nail on the head with it. I don't have a whole lot that I can disagree with on it. So all right, let me get to this next article. Let me see. All right, next one is from fastcompany.com. These are the steps you should take when a recruiter ghosts you. In the world of dating, being ghosted means having someone abruptly end all contact in the relationship without any explanation. But unfortunately, someone dropping off the face of the planet doesn't just happen to people romantically. If you've ever been on the job hunt, chances are you've been ghosted once or twice by a recruiter, whether it happened after a brief phone screening or at a late stage. Being ghosted by a recruiter can be frustrating and psychologically draining. To lessen the blow of future occurrences, consider the following. Number one, following up thoughtfully. If you feel like you're being ghosted by a recruiter, take the initiative to follow up with them before throwing your hands up in distress. While it's totally possible that you're being ghosted, the recruiter could also be on vacation. The job may have been put on hold, or the recruiter dedicated to the role may have been transitioned out of the organization. There are so many moving pieces behind the scene, so don't immediately jump to panic mode. If it's been about a week or so, reach back out for a status update and be persistent, not too pushy. If they are not responding to your email, consider reaching out through LinkedIn for a response. It's actually a good idea. excuse me. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the process of purposely bringing your attention to experiences and not becoming overwhelmed or hyperactive to what's going on around you. Practice mindfulness in whatever form helps you reduce the impact that being ghosted might have on your confidence. Remind yourself that not every job is meant to be an act in that, like in a relationship. The person you're meant to be with won't flake out and ghost you. Rather than taking it personally, remind yourself just how many applicants per open job requisition recruiters deal with on a daily basis, and understand that sometimes giving feedback just isn't possible for them. Very good feedback there. Number three, don't wait around. If you're actively seeking a new position in the job market, make sure you're keeping your eyes open to many new opportunities. Job hunting can feel overwhelming. So when we find a promising lead, it's tempting to stop looking elsewhere and just focus on the opportunity. This has the possibility to work out, but it can also backfire. Operate with the assumption that until you signed your name on the dotted line, you're not employed anywhere and should be evaluating many offers at once, even if you're in the final stages with a company. Circumstances can change quickly with employers, and by keeping your options open, you reduce the negative impact that one of them not working out can have. Number four, reflect on your own performance. Reflect on your own performance during the interview, as well as the way you followed up post interview. It's possible that somewhere along the way you've behaved or communicated in a way that has put the recruiter off. And as a result, you might not be a priority for them anymore. For example, perhaps you didn't show enough enthusiasm or interest during the interview, or perhaps you didn't prioritize your follow up and next steps. If the recruiter feels as though you're not 110% committed and interested in the role, they will be less inclined to keep you in the running. Number five, think about your lessons learned. With every job interview, you get better for the future. Interviewing, negotiating, and working with recruiters are all skills that are built and improve each time. If it didn't work out with with this recruiter or hiring manager, reflect upon the experience and ask yourself, what can I learn from this moving forward? While not every recruiter will give you feedback, those who do can provide you insights on how to improve for the future. If you're able to find feedback from a connection within the organization or even through mock interviews with friends, you'll be better prepared for interviews going forward. Just like finding the right partner, finding the right job takes time, effort, and a little bit of headache or heartache along the way. If you've been ghosted, take a few days to mourn the opportunity and get back out there and show the world that you what you have to offer. I can't say I disagree with anything that was anything that was stated here. Um, I think they make very good points. I can't disagree with anything. Actually, I wish Nagon was here to actually speak to this because he himself is a recruiter. And he can tell you about the ghosting or why some of these things even happen and how he goes about recruiting for IT roles. We got Keep It Techie on the line. What's going on, Josh?
What's going on, bro? How you doing,
Chilling.
man?
I'm chilling. You?
I'm good. I'm good. Hanging in now.
All right.
And I'm sorry I missed this whole article while we were while I was trying to get on. Uh, so I'm sorry. It seemed like it was ghosting, right? Like when
Yeah,
recruiters ghost.
recruiters when the recruiter goes you what to do. Um, I can't say I disagree with anything in the article. I think that they made a lot of stellar points. So yeah, I think the only thing I can really offer though, outside of the article, man, is to make sure you build a good rapport with the recruiters. Um, give them feedback on roles. Like sometimes I'll get sent a role for something uh, 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 like a sysadmin role with security, and it's like that's not really my role. I'm a dedicated security person. I don't really do sysadmin work. That hasn't been I haven't done sysadmin work in the last 10 years, so why would I be doing it now? But that sort of thing happens, right? So you want to make sure that the rapport that you're building with them also focuses on giving them the feedback necessary so that what they're looking for. So for example, they'll ask me, have you ever heard of CISSP or something like that? Well, yeah, you usually have a CISSP in a senior role. You don't really have that at the entry level. Entry level people don't get CISSPs. So if you offer an entry level rec to me, and it says CISSP is nice to have in the must haves category, that makes me raise a red flag because now I'm looking at it sideways and I'm saying, who are they really looking for, right? You don't get a CISSP at the entry level. You get CISSP at the senior level. So is this really a senior role posing as an entry level role, or is this an entry level role um, with some really mixed up alphabet and goofiness in it? So got to give that sort of feedback to them and say, I don't know, I can see that this isn't really something for me based on the criteria that is being given. You want me to do 80%, you know, architectural work, and I haven't done architectural work, then that's not going to work out for me.
Well, one thing I can add, right fast,
Hmm.
I just skimmed through the article right fast, so I can have some background. But number three, I remember what I see it says, don't wait around, and yeah, I agree with that totally. Because if you're actively seeking a new position, you wanna constantly be applying to other positions and don't just wait around. Cause I ain't gonna lie, I had that issue at one point. I go to an interview and I get excited about the position or whatever, thinking it's gonna work out, kind of psych myself into it's gonna work out, and I'll start neglecting like a few other positions that I could have applied for.
Right,
Um,
right.
yeah, and so yeah, you want to constantly keep looking for new positions and applying. LinkedIn, it has positions pop up every single day, and
Hmm.
yep. So that's all I can add to it.
Yeah, LinkedIn is actually pretty good. The one-click apply rule that completely nullifies any filling out of a job application. This is like the best thing since sliced bread. You see a job, you like the job, you click on it, you click apply, and then it applies, and then you're done. That's it.
Yeah, that's a great thing they added to it. But the only thing is, in my opinion, when you do like when you only apply to those type of jobs, just think about it. Everybody else is just applying to those quick and easy, click the button, one click apply.
Mhm.
And they neglecting those ones that you do have to fill out those. So don't pass those up as well. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, it's good to click those, but yeah, don't pass up those other ones. And take the time and just fill it out.
What's your take on government jobs? Do you like government jobs over private sector jobs? Like what's your take on it?
To be honest, I do like the government, and that's because of my military background.
Hmm.
I worked like I was in the army for 15 years, and the way they operate is different, as far as like the way meetings are ran and
Hmm.
all that. So I'm just so used to that environment that
Hmm.
I just kind of fall into place when it comes to government positions, and uh civilian sector positions is kind of hard to, I don't know, kind of fit in. You get kind of institutionalized, so to speak, where you got to watch what you say because government positions, yeah, you got to be professional, but you got to be tactful as well. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And But on the civilian side, you really got to watch how you communicate. You know what I'm saying, with certain people. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But you can get a lot of money out of the private sector, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
I've seen private sector jobs with public trust, man. They pay some pretty good paper, man.
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right, let me get to this next article. Oh wait, somebody's in the waiting room. There he is, our guy from the Big Apple. What's going on, Nagon?
What's going on, man? What's going on?
I don't know if you caught what we were talking about a few minutes ago about recruiters.
No, I missed it. I'm sorry. I'm just tuning in right now. So if you can fill me in very quickly.
Yeah, let me sure I share my screen with you so you see what we're talking about. This is an article from fastcompany.com. These are the steps you should take when a recruiter ghosts you. And they have 5 steps. First step is follow up thoughtfully. Second step is practice mindfulness. Number 3 is don't wait around. Number 4 is reflect on your own performance. And number 5 is think about your lessons learned. So basically, don't beat up the recruiter just because they didn't contact you back after 2 weeks. Maybe the recruiter's on vacation. Maybe the recruiter got transitioned out to another assignment. Maybe you weren't a good fit for the role. You didn't seem more enthusiastic about the role. Or maybe there's a variety of things. There's a lot of moving pieces going on with recruiters and whatnot that applicants don't really realize. And I just wanted you to speak, to why a rec might not get filled, or why a person might not be contacted back for a role.
Yeah, usually most of the time, the recruiters do not get back to people because they are really not a good fit for the role. And
Oh, your mic is breaking up, Nagon. I think Nagon is switching networks. Yeah, I think Nagon having issues.
oh, hey, Mike, I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, I'm sorry. A lot of times when that happens, is you're not a good fit for the role. That's really what it is.
Your mic is breaking up a lot, Nagon.
I don't know why I am. I'm just getting here. Don't know why. Hold on one second. Oh, shit, man. All right. Can you hear me better now or no?
Yeah, we can hear you clear.
Okay. Really, recruiter doesn't get back to you. You're not a good fit for the role. If you're really a good fit for the role, a recruiter is going to be all over you. But if you're not a good fit, they're not going to be all over you. And they're going to let you kind of drop into the they're just going to drop you. I don't think that's a good way of dealing with people, because if you're not a good fit for the role, then they have to let you know, listen, I don't think you're a good fit. That's what a lot of recruiters do, but some recruiters don't. They don't get back to you. So if you follow up and you follow up with a phone call, you follow up with an email, you don't hear anything from them, best bet is to move on and go elsewhere where you're going to get maybe some better attention. But the majority of the case is if they don't get back to you, it means that you are not a good fit for the role. If you're a really good fit, they're gonna climb all over you to get you.
Mhm. Yeah, and the thing is, I think in my experience is that one recruiter would hand me off to another recruiter who's more of a specialist in that area. So for example, a general recruiter who's looking for desktop support people might have a rec come across their desk looking for DBAs. Well, that might not be their specialty. They don't understand Oracle, they don't understand SQL, whatever. So what happens here is that recruiter, that general recruiter, may hand it off to the guy who understands, or the person who understands database administration, database architecture, and then they take over the rec. So yes, there's a lot of moving pieces that happens with recruiters. I think recruiters get a bad rap, and unfortunately, too many recruiters don't do the due diligence to just, like all my recruiters text me. They don't even send me an email. They just text me, "Hey, I just came across this role. What do you think about this?" Just because
Right.
here's the one thing, because they built a rapport, right? We built a rapport where we can actually text each other, right? It's okay to text me in the middle of the day. I'll get back to that text probably quicker than I'll get back to an email, because that, my inbox right now has 100 unread emails. I just can't get to it right now. But that text message that just came in, I might say yes or no, or let me think about it. Much quicker response.
For sure, that's for sure. I text a lot as well. Candidates, and I'm constantly dealing with candidates and doing a lot of interviews, and it's always like that. But candidates who tend not to be good fits for roles, I get back with them, but and let them know, listen, you may not be a good fit for this role, but I'll get back to you when I see something a bit more appropriate. And then some people will continue to hit me up, you got anything? And it's like, no, I don't have anything as of yet. And when I do, that's what I do. But it usually comes down to just how good of a fit you are, and candidates that don't hear back from recruiters. At the end of the day, it really comes down to that they are not a good fit. They're not a fit for that specific role. They may be good for something else, but they're not a fit for that role. And then sometimes you may have people who may consistently get back with the recruiter saying, hey, listen, I want this job. I think I can really do it. I think I can really do it. And they don't have the skill sets, and they push, and the recruiter tells them, listen, I don't know if this would be a good role for you. And then, then they kind of shove them off to the side, and the guy continues to push. Yet the recruiter kind of basically told you weren't really a good fit. So it goes a few different ways. But usually in the recruiting business, if you're a hot candidate and you've got the skill set, someone is definitely going to climb all over you to get you into that role if you are the perfect fit for it. They're not going to leave you hanging.
Yeah, making yourself easily accessible is another key, man.
Yeah.
One recruiter might deal with 100 different candidates, man, throughout the week. You might have to leave the office and go meet a candidate in person, walk them through an interview, or you might have to sit on the phone for 40 up to 45 minutes talking to a candidate. 100 candidates a week, man, that's a lot, man.
It's a lot. I mean, you're going to be dealing with that all the time. It's just like I'm recruiting very heavily for a role right now. I think I've mentioned it before, but I've had a couple of roles that I'm hunting for. But yeah, you'll talk to a lot of people, and somebody will actually look halfway decent. Then when you talk to them, they just put it on the resume just to kind of get a bite, but they don't have any skill sets in that arena at all. So it's a back and forth. It's a tough game, but ideally, I would have to say people get back to you when you are a perfect fit. It's just like you're saying that a recruiter will text you. They'll have a role. They'll have your resume, and they'll like, oh, this is Mike. This is Mike for you all day long, man. Let me get a hold of them, and they'll text you. Just like they get back to you because they know you. They already know you're a fit. They know your skill sets. They know your background. They know what the role is. and they're getting a hold of you because they already know that you're going to be a fit. It's a question about whether or not you're available. So that's that goes that way. But recruiters tend not to like to try to fit square pegs in the round holes.
Yeah, like taking a person from from Target or Target and try to fit them into a desktop role. That's not the business, man.
That's right.
Because that can backfire on the recruiter if the person flames out.
They'll look at you like, why'd you send this person to me? I got really good faith in you. And recruiter has a lot of he has a lot on the line because how you deal with candidates and the kind of candidates you present. And if the candidate doesn't do well, then they'll say, hey, listen, I really needed this role, and this role filled, you give me crap people or whatever. You can lose credibility that way as well. So you have to be on top of your game all the way around.
Yeah.
Tough.
Yeah. Yeah, try. My advice outside of that article is to try to build good rapport with recruiters. Have a very personal relationship. I just had lunch with one of my recruiters, man. He said he hasn't seen me in a long time, wanted to catch up and just have lunch. Took me out to lunch on my lunch break. So that's sort of relationships that I have, male and female, especially with female recruiters, man. They're very, very effective negotiators. They know how to get you in, they know how to charm their way in, and they speak highly of your best interests. I haven't dealt with any BW recruiters, but in non-BW recruiters, they've been very helpful to me. Indian recruiters, WWs. So,
well, it's in tech recruiting. You're not going to see a lot of Black women in tech recruiting. You just don't. You see more BWs in. You see some really in healthcare recruiting nurses and that type. You see them a bit more in kind of in the administrative, secretarial kind of administrative backup role, that type. But the technical recruiting side, you don't see a lot, and we should see more. But technical recruiting is recruiting, but it's a bit of a different animal. You have to really, you got to be around a lot of technical recruiting stuff. You got to understand the technical recruiting business. You got to understand the technical game a little bit. You got to know what developers, DBAs, sysadmins, desktop support. You got to know a lot of, you got to know a lot of different technologies, understand how they work. You got to know you got to understand various companies and their environments and what they're working with there and having to make the right fits and so forth. There's a bit more. I mean, it's, you pick it up over time, but there's a bit more to it. I think it's tech recruiting there's a lot more to tech recruiting than there is to, how would I say, to doing secretarial. There's a lot more to it. So
yeah, a lot of people think it's just like,
too.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's just like selling a used car, and it's not. Used cars, you can bluff your way around, but you gotta know your stuff as a tech recruiter. Gotta be able to find the right candidate with the right personality that fits in with the right organization.
Very important, because companies, regardless of what they might do in a business, the technologies was backing up that business. So, as you help, because we say as recruiters, you help to build companies. You really help to build companies with people. It's people that make this thing really work. So you really have to be able to put the right people in the place, and you just can't put any old body in any old place. That's not going to work. So you really have to understand the environment. You really have to understand what they're working with. You have to understand the management game there. Understand the managers. Like this one Japanese manager who I deal with, and this guy he's a very good guy, but he's a real technical stickler. This guy is he's kind of a hard ass. So, and not only is he a hard ass on the whole interview background and all that, but he's kind of this manager is kind of tough to work for as well. But there's a workflow. There's a whole way this guy likes people to work, and he likes people coming from certain kinds of environments. Because so what do I mean by that? Let's say you're a SQL, SQL. Let's say you're a DBA. Just for example, I'm not going to say the specifics of the job, but say you're a DBA and and you're in a banking system, he's going to want you to come out of a certain type of bank with certain kinds of technologies going on in that background that are kind of somewhat similar to what they're doing. And you can have another, SQL DBA or whatever come in from another. We have some good skills. You may come out of a healthcare background, but he won't really look at that guy because well, it's healthcare. This is a little bit different. We're dealing with something a little different here in this banking environment. It's different. So he may look at a guy like that, but he really won't because he knows his environment, the hectic nature, speed of the data moving, all kinds of things that they're dealing with. That he's going to want a certain type of person out of a certain environment to come at him. So that's a key thing. What environment is this guy come out of? Is it somewhat similar to his, the same kind of technology kind of working in the background? And do they have these kinds of skills? He's very specific about that. So just because you may be good, SQL DBA or however, the environment you come out of is what he's going to be looking at almost more so than anything else. And you have to really understand that, and some guys are big sticklers about that as well. So anyway.
Yeah. Let me jump to this next article. All right, this one is from quartz.com. Africa is the world's fastest growing continent for software developers. I've talked about this many times on these live streams, and I'm going to continue to talk about it. As tech ecosystems and hubs continue to sprout across Africa, an accompanying effect has been an upswell in local software engineering talent. It's proven enough for even global tech giants to notice. Microsoft is investing over $100 million to open its first development centers on the continent and employ 100 full-time African developers this year, and grow its developer pool to 500 by 2023. And the developer boom is showing no signs of slowing down. In GitHub's latest annual State of the Octoverse report, developers from Africa created 40% more open source repositories on the software engineering marketplace over the past year, a higher growth percentage than any other continent globally. Among African countries with established developer communities, defined by GitHub as having more than 10,000 contributors to the platform, Morocco accounted for the most growth on the continent. Fastest growing developer communities on GitHub by contributors: Morocco, Kenya, Nigeria, Egypt, South Africa. I'm surprised South Africa is so low, 40%. Notably, rapid growth in developer contributions is happening outside the countries renowned for their large developer communities. Among countries with fewer than 10,000 contributors to GitHub, Maya and Guinea-Bissau both recorded over 500% growth. It mirrors the emergence of tech hubs even beyond the legacy cities in Africa's largest tech markets. Interesting. The large pool of developers developing talent across the continent proved appealing enough to build a business model around, as Andela, the developer training and outsourcing company, launched in 2014 on the premise of hiring, training, and outsourcing developers to companies in the United States in need of software engineering talent. But while it first appeared promising, the model has now proven unsustainable thanks in part to the proliferation of other developer training and outsourcing companies that cater to US companies. In September, Andela let go over 250 of his contracted junior developers in Lagos and Uganda amid a major shift in its model to focus only on senior developers. With hundreds of junior developers now on the market, one big question among industry leaders or industry insiders has been whether local tech ecosystems are large enough to absorb them. For their part, these developers have several options, from working remotely for foreign companies and platforms to moving to Europe, as several Nigerian developers increasingly have. And if they choose to move elsewhere in Africa, South Africa which ranks highest for pay packages offered to developers, will likely to be the top of the list. So I've talked about this many times this year and last year that Africans are moving at a pace that is rapidly outperforming that of ADOS. If you want to compare melanated people to melanated people, I'm not comparing country to country, I'm comparing people to people, human capital to human capital. Are ADOS cultivating the talent at enough to sustain their future? As it stands right now, we're not seeing this. So we see this happening on the continent a lot. Just read in the piece in the article that says Microsoft has made investments into the continent to hire more developers. So when we say that, you know, things are shifting, if you are, this is a good time to be a Black man in tech. You can slide right into the continent with your good speaking English skills, your access to higher education, community college, trade schools. Take advantage of that, take your talent to the continent and be a senior or principal guy almost overnight.
Hey, Mike, they say they don't like you over there. They don't like you.
Well,
what do you have to say to that?
Well, if they don't like you, then maybe you should just twiddle your thumbs and sit in your house. What's your take on Africa growing developers like that, software developers?
Man, it's like you say, you've been talking about this for a while. This is bottom line stuff. This is exactly what's happening. This has been predicted. This is exactly what's going on. It is going to be like this for the foreseeable future. And people who are smart, who are starting to really look at this whole IT game and this development around the world from a three-dimensional perspective, are poised to move. You have other people coming in like Russians, Chinese, and others who are going down there. We should be there like there's no tomorrow. So that's the issue. I mean, it's speaking for itself. It's going down. It's going down now, and it's going to go down either with or without you. That's just how it is. So either you saddle up regulators and make the move, or sit back here to they don't want you, they don't like you. Sit up in here, twiddle your thumbs, deal with derelict folks, and make less money and get chewed up and eaten up by the system here. That's got nothing for you. I mean, that's, there is something for, if you're a tech person, you're going to do well regardless. But your opportunities are wide and broad with tech. That's how I got, what was I doing when I was in Brazil? I was, working for the Bank of Brazil and getting Java developers, front and back end people for them, left, right, and center. That's what I was doing. Java people all day long. That's what I was doing. And we were getting Americans who were coming in and others. You had Brazilians, some of them who were good, but we were bringing people in from other areas of the world. So I was interviewing a lot of people in Sao Paulo who had come in from other countries to interview for these positions for the bank. And that's all it was. They were migrating over. They were all on. They were all using Microsoft. They were all developing in Java, and it was just, it was awesome. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it was a lot of work. Mm-hmm. And you had, definitely you had people who were on, in South America who had those backgrounds as well. And you had to interview them too. But it was all a tech game. That's what it was, and that's what you're gonna be seeing in Africa, man. Same stuff, man. So the banks and technical companies and everything else, government, everything else is going to be all about development, software development, and I think of many different flavors as well. But that's where you're going to have to be, and hopefully people can hear us. Hopefully folks can hear us, because that's where the opportunities are certainly going to be internationally, and hopefully we're there.
Yeah, definitely. they're saying by 2023, there's going to have, a damn near 100% bump in hiring of talent from Microsoft on the continent. That's just Microsoft. We're not even talking about IBM, HP, Facebook, Google, what do you want to call it? Huawei. All those companies are coming to the continent. There's a lot of untapped talent on the continent, but there's a lot of untapped talent in ADOS too. And we don't get to hear a lot about that untapped talent because we're too busy talking about other things, man, that are non-essential, man. We should be, starring, our most talented guys or most talented people every single week. This is Tayshawn. He got straight A's this quarter or this semester or whatever it was. He also can write code. Blah 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 blah. We should be parading these type of people around. We should be celebrating these type of people, not ignoring them and watching the talent go get sucked out of the community. And then you have a brain drain. You have intellectual flight.
No, I mean it's bottom line. I was just going over my grandson, his his first quarterly report card that he's got in his grades, and he's got a 98 in STEM. They actually have STEM class in his school, STEM. So he's doing a 98, and he's doing an 85 in math. He's a little bit low. He came down a little bit low in math, but I'm really pushing him. I'm sorry, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna mold him, man to be a tech engineer. That's where I'm molding this guy, man. I'm sorry. He's got to get into this because the possibilities are endless. And these years, I'm telling you, these years are brilliant. So I'm just saying we really have to start to mold and push our people into these areas. And I know his grandma, we don't get along all that well, but she's like, well, you're trying to push him. I'm like, yeah, I got to push this guy because he's got that. He's got it. He's got the math skills. He's got the STEM skills. He's got to go there. Okay, great being a medical doctor and all that, but I don't want to be that. I want him to be an engineer, a software or technical, an engineering.
In other communities, what your parents say is exactly what it is. You're going to go to school to be a doctor, and that's the end of it. And you see a lot of Asians go to school and get their PhDs and be doctors.
Except the only thing is, I've got a grandma, another woman who's kind of in the way, and I'm like, get out of the way. Let me deal with this. I got him. Because he's got these skills, and I'm gonna hone him, man. But I think we have to start pushing our kids into this, man. This is what we got to start doing, because, man, I mean, as far as what's going to be happening down the line, it's so broad and so wide and so awesome. It's almost hard to even predict how big this thing will get, but it's big, and our kids should be getting involved with this.
Yeah,
And just
I think, go right ahead, brother. Go right ahead.
Oh no, but yeah, just to add to what you guys are saying, this is. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me better?
Every time you move around, there's some feedback.
Sorry about that.
No, go ahead.
So what I would like to add to it, this article is very interesting, because Africa has kind of been left out of GitHub. That's why I always talk about GitHub, because there's been companies that have been, started on GitHub from people coming together and creating some type of software or whatever, and getting help and creating software from it. So and also I wanted to add, GitHub is owned by Microsoft. I don't know if y'all know that.
Yeah,
it was acquired by Microsoft. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of a pipeline too. When you, man, come on, dude, he watching the game. I'm sorry, my homeboy watching the game.
Yeah.
But that's all I wanted to say though. I done lost my train of thought, so never mind.
Now, do you have a GitHub account?
Oh yes, I have a GitHub account, and it's under Keep It Techy. It's I don't have anything on there, but I think I got a script up there that I've been working on, like Python scripts. And so I know I used to do bash scripting back in the day for Windows. So I was real good at that. But I
Bash
just couldn't.
scripting for
It's
Linux or bash scripting for Windows?
no bash. I'm sorry. I keep saying
PowerShell.
no. I keep saying bash, but I mean batch. You know,
Oh,
the
okay.
BATCH. Those batch scripts back in the day. Because
Wait a
you know, I
second.
used
BITCH. Who you talking to, boy?
no. No. Nah. But yeah, that was before, you know, I mean, I don't know how old the guys are in the chat, but that's was what they had before PowerShell. So yeah.
Yeah.
We did it, dog.
Yep.
Oh, y'all did it, man. Y'all did it.
We did it, bro.
We won.
We
Okay.
just did it.
I know Josh got to put himself on mute, but yeah, man. Yeah, because Microsoft owns LinkedIn and GitHub. What I've heard is that they're going to start allowing, or they're going to create a way to connect your LinkedIn to your GitHub account. So recruiters or talent scouts are going to be able to find your content connected to your LinkedIn.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, LinkedIn is a great tool. I use it a lot. It's a great tool.
Yeah.
You know.
Let me jump to this next article. This is probably up Keep It Techie's alley. All right, this one is from Forbes.com. Stunning desktop Linux OS Deepin V20 has a release date. Minutes ago, I wrapped up an interview with Wuhan Deepin Technology CTO Raphael Zhang and Deepin Development Manager Hulei Wang. And their answers were full of surprises and welcome news. Before I published the interview or the full interview, I wanted to reserve this space for a cool announcement. Deepin V20 is heading into beta status mid-December and is expected to officially launch January 2020. This is a screenshot of the GUI. Deepin is both a Linux distribution, Linux distribution and standalone desktop environment, but the former has been making serious waves lately, beginning with its recent Huawei partnership, which sees the Chinese device manufacturer shipping various MateBook laptops in China with Deepin pre-installed. The Deepin team has also been sharing a series of short but tantalizing Deepin 20 V20's teasers via its YouTube channel. They are slickly produced and demonstrate a lot of polish being added to the distribution's taskbar, launch, and login functionality. I've embedded all three at the bottom of this article. Don't let the language dissuade you. Deepin is also available in English. Deepin excites me because it sets such a high bar, not just with its visual aesthetic, but with its feature set as well. Tools like Deepin Cloud Sync, which, yes, will break out of mainland China, but not before the company carefully studies various international privacy laws. A window-less slid out control center and a built-in bootloader customization put it a cut above. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but Deepin is the first thing I show people who are unaware of the progress desktop Linux has made in the last several years, not to mention how beautiful it has become. So these are some of the YouTube videos. I'm not going to play them here, but I like to Keep It Techie's opinion on this. I'm not sure if he's ever seen this before. I haven't seen this. It's my first time seeing it.
Yes, I've seen his distribution. It's a real good distribution. It's one of the newer ones. It is Debian based, meaning that it came from its roots are in Debian, just like Ubuntu. So it uses like the apt package manager. And it's I'm so sorry, guys.
No, take your time, man.
Yeah, LSU just won, and my roommate's going crazy. So, but yeah, it's a great distribution as far as I've tried it. I've actually just tried the desktop because you can with Linux you can piecemeal things, and you can just install the desktop on top of whatever distribution you have. But to get the whole Debian, the whole Deepin OS, they have a OS, and like I said, it's Debian based. It's and it comes with a bunch of tools, and it's bridging the gap. That's what I wanted to say. It's bridging the gap for Windows users to easily come over because of the usability, how it's even more usable than you want to, as far as like the tools there and the way it looks. So a lot of people in the Linux community are really excited about it.
Hey, Nagone, quick question. What are you seeing for not for Linux in terms of Rex?
Linux, I don't have many Rex on Linux right now. It's more or less, I'm looking for some project managers and really more developers. And that's Java, SQL, C++, C#. That's primarily what I'm really going for now. And plus, also, with this really trying to go hard right now on this blockchain developer, which I'm really trying to close ranks on right now. But Linux. But anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, are these singular roles, any entry-level roles in terms of?
No. Most people not. They're not going to bring me on for entry-level stuff. They can usually get that on their own. Usually, when I'm recruiting for people who have to come into an environment, have a lot of good skill sets, be able to develop pretty well, be able to fix a lot of problems, debug, do a whole lot of crap. They got to do a lot of fixing. A lot of fixing got to go on. I'm sorry. So no, I'm not. I never get those junior levels. They're not gonna pay me a fee for some junior leaguer. They'll pay me a fee for the more senior level people who are hard to find. Given various environments. All right.
Because I think one of the problems is that at least on this channel, people are trying to get into tech, and they're trying to figure out which path to take. I think this is just me thinking out loud, is that you gotta have some command line experience in something.
You do. Linux, definitely. Even people who've migrated from Linux, from Unix to Linux, which is everybody kind of sees that natural kind of thing flowing over. Yeah, that command line it's important, but still, you can get into it. I think if you just start out with Linux and you really have a good skill set and you really kind of understand the business and so forth, there's a lot there that you can take advantage of. But I'm just not seeing a lot of entry level stuff. I know people want to say how to get into it, but I really feel you really should really develop you really have to get into an environment first. I think usually from a desktop support kind of area, get into an area where you can get into a place to where they're really going to let you kind of learn and get around. And that's why getting kind of involved with some smaller companies, some startups and so forth, that really let you kind of get in there and get your hands dirty. That's where you pick up a lot of different stuff. And that's really kind of how I see it. That's how a lot of people have done well, by coming into an environment in one way and then migrating over by working under someone.
And I totally agree with you, Nagone.
You got a lot of static, keep it techie.
Yeah.
Not sure what's going on with his connection. I think he's too close to the speaker or something like that.
But he was getting ready to say something. Keep it techie. Go ahead.
No, I was. Can y'all hear me better? I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. But I totally agree with what you just said. It's really you're really limited on the positions that are available as far as entry level when you're getting into Linux. To be honest, it seems like those guys get pipelined into Linux, um, or server management on the Linux side through going through the normal path that most people go through as far as, because Microsoft is the main operating systems that are being used.
Yep.
Is forced to get in to help desk and all that stuff. You're not going to see any entry level Linux help desk, because people don't use those systems at the user level, so to speak, throughout the environment. So you're not going to find many positions like that. But it's still a good to know, like once you get into a position, that's something that you can add to to whatever training that you have currently, because it'll not too many people hop into it, and so it's something different that'll make you stand out as far as getting into other positions or going up, because like Mike said, like Nagone said, you got to have some command line experience, because that's gonna be the deal moving forward, with PowerShell, Bash scripting, so in that command line.
Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely. You got to be able to, because see, in order to program, you got to be comfortable with putting in code. The same thing would be true with the ability to manage an operating system. You got to be comfortable with a command line.
Agreed.
All right, let me jump to this next article. Oh, that's not the right one. All right, here we go right here. Sound like Nagone's in a loading dock, like he's backing up the neutral zone. All right, this one is from redhat.com. Training and certification for Linux system administrators. What training and certification opportunities should you seek as a Linux system administrator? Which one should you look for if you want to hire a Linux system administrator? There are answers. Expand this out. There's always a bit of controversy surrounding discussions of certifications and training for system administrators. I personally been on both sides of this argument and have changed my mind over the years. I used to think that certifications are a waste of time and training was generally a waste of time and money. I think what bothered me about certifications was that anyone with money and the time to sit in a class could get one regardless of experience. And that annoyed me because I'd gained my knowledge through my self-study and job experience. One of my personal issues was that I could never convince my employers to pay for training and then allow me to take a week off of work to attend the training. These days, I think training and certifications are both good investments. It's your career, and even if your employer won't pay for training, you should pay for it yourself and use vacation time to attend. Yes, it's that important to your career and professional growth to do so. No one ever gets fired for having taken a class or for earning a certification. Now that you've decided to explore training and certifications further, the questions of what training and certification should you search for as a Linux administrator is at hand. There are so many options available that it's hard to decide where you should spend your money and time. Most technology training classes require from 1 to 5 days to complete. And then you'll need to set aside a few hours for your certification exam. Should you choose to take it, and before you ask or ponder it, yes, you should definitely take the exam. Exam costs vary widely from around $100 to several $100s. And some training classes include an exam voucher. The cost of the exam is baked into the cost of training for those that include the voucher. For Linux system administrators and for those who want to become Linux administrators, I suggest that you explore the following list of training and certifications. Please note that these are suggestions and neither recommendations nor requirements. Some examples of certifications in this space include Red Hat's RHCE, RHCSA, and many additional specific exams and certifications, as well as those from the Linux Professional Institute, CompTIA, Linux Plus, and others. Some exams require that you take classes prior to sitting for the exam, while others do not. In any case, I suggest you gather study materials and focus on exam-specific items. You might be a Linux expert with many years of experience and still fail an exam because of the many coverage areas such as storage, security, graphical user interface, troubleshooting, networking, and more with which you might not be completely familiar. I also just suggest that you take some practice exams to get acquainted with how many questions are asked and the answer options available. I believe that any system administrator should have security training and optionally a security certification. You might feel that the CISSP is overkill for Linux system administrator, but it does demonstrate a high level understanding of security, best practices, and a security big picture. Perhaps more practically for system administrators are the SSCP, which I personally have, and the Security Plus, which I previously had. Holding a security certification doesn't make one a security expert, but it does mean that the system administrator thinks about security in all aspects of their jobs, from initial setup through decommissioning and disposal. Security knowledge is no longer optional. It is a requirement of any technology position, and annual corporate security training just doesn't cut it. Awareness is a good thing, but system administrators require a deeper dive. Certifications in the space include the CompTIA Security Plus, ISC2, CISSP, SSCP, and others. Additional training and certification, believe it or not, being a system administrator means that you need to know quite a bit about everything in your enterprise, not just Linux. As shocking as that sounds to your ears, it's true. Rarely does anyone just get to do Linux work. In smaller companies and in some larger ones too, you have to wear many hats: system administrator, network administrator, security administrator, hardware technician, and desktop support. You might even be called upon to work with, dare I write it, Windows. Please consider some additional training and certifications outside of your Linux shell. See what I did there? It's funny, but you really do need to expand your knowledge base beyond the status quo to advance yourself um, beyond the prompt and propel yourself into prompts that include multiple signs. Here are some options for doing just that: CompTIA Network Plus, Security Plus, Server Plus, A Plus, Microsoft, Windows Server, Windows 10, Storage, learn and certify on storage technology. Virtualization, learn at least one virtualization technology. Cloud, learn at least one cloud computing technology. I know this all sounds like a tall order, but chances are good that you already have some of this knowledge stored in your experience. If not, it's time to expand your horizons and to learn something new. Doing so is also one of the ways to avoid system administrator burnout. Summary: technical training and certification are optional. However, they show that you invested in yourself in your career. They also prove that you have a certain body of knowledge. If you work closely with a particular technology, you should certify on it first and then expand outside of that. Show that you are dedicated to your work and your employer's technology choices by taking advantage of the vendor-specific training and certifications. Remember, no one ever gets fired for knowing too much or having verified credentials. I've been talking about this since day one. This article was written November 4th, 2019, just the other day or early this week. I've been saying this to you guys. This is the deal. No one ever gets fired for certification. I don't care what anybody comes on here and says that certifications don't matter. That's bullshit. This is Red Hat. This is IBM just bought Red Hat. These are people from Red Hat telling you to buy to invest into certifications. You have people who come on here sometimes and say, well, I disagree. I don't think certifications are all that much important. Bullshit. This article says otherwise.
It's a great article, Mike.
Mhm.
It really gets down to the base, but that's the bottom line.
Mhm.
It's money. It's the more skills you have, the more money you're going to make, the more opportunities you're going to have. Period. End of story. Any real technology expert is going to tell you that. People coming in here saying that you don't need certifications and all that are bullshitters, or they don't know anything about the business, or they're not really moving up in their skill sets, and they may be stuck where they are talking that crap.
Mhm.
But anybody who's really moving up and really getting around, they're going to be getting as much knowledge and as many certifications as possible,
Mhm.
because that's going to take them to the next better opportunity. Period.
Mhm. I know Josh, Keep It Techie, is actually pretty astute in Linux. I wonder what's his opinion on Linux certifications.
And yeah, I was definitely waiting for a spot to jump in. But all right. I talk about Linux, and I have a channel on Linux and everything, but I do not have any certifications in Linux. And so a while back, I remember you posted the Linux Foundation link where they had a deal.
Mhm.
So I purchased the training, and I've been studying up for it, and that's something I've been doing in the background. And I was
Which
like,
one?
well, the systems administration one.
Oh, I bought both. I bought
Oh yeah,
sysadmin
I
and sysengineer.
I started to buy both, but I said, well, let me just, because I'm still trying to learn my SQL position. I didn't want to overwhelm myself. So I mean, I should have bought it because it was the best deal, but
Yeah.
I just figured I'd just start with the systems, and then when I get time, get the engineering one. But yeah, I can't talk about it if I don't have it. That's how I feel. So
Mhm.
I can't sit here and just constantly talk about it. So I was like, well, I gotta get in, at least take one of these certifications, and so I
It's
can talk, I can walk the talk, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, and I want to make this clear to people because maybe you might know about this, but they don't. It's a performance-based certification, meaning you have to actually do the work. And it's proctored. So there is no yes or no questions. This isn't an answer key. You can't cram your way through this. You have to be able to demonstrate that work on a live system. If you crash the system, I think 2 or 3 times, you fail the exam. I mean, this is how serious the exam is. I looked in Reddit, and I see other people have had difficulty passing it, even with their skill set. So this is the type of stuff that we're talking about. If you can pass this exam, you can do your job. That's how they see it. And don't forget, Black Friday's coming up. They're gonna have some great deals again on certification and training. You're gonna see mad bundles come out, Kubernetes, LFCS that Keep It Tech he just talked about. He got in on that deal. I took advantage of both LFCS and LFCE. So I don't even work in Linux all that much, but I just want the training, and the certification comes with it, and it's good for 1 year. So I have until September of next year to actually go through all the training and take the certification if I need to. That's more than enough time.
You're so right, Mike. I have a client, CLS Bank. They're in Manhattan, and for their Linux servers, is for what they have with respect to Linux,
Mhm.
I haven't had anybody interview in that for a while, but they
Mhm.
they put you on a live. Part of that interview is not just asking questions. You have to go in there and have to they test you right there on Linux, right there on their servers. They test you right there in house, right on their stuff,
Mhm.
and you know they light a lot of people up, but that's how they do it. So companies right now are bringing you in, and they're having you write code. They're having you get on their systems and work on them to see you might have a little problem or something that they may have for you to solve or whatever. They got a lot of like crazy stuff going on now. So
Mhm.
the tech interviews that I've been getting people involved with have been very, very, very intense. So that's why I've been going online myself over the last couple of years and just taking down a lot of stuff and being able to do a kind of a lightweight tech interview myself over the phone and then see if these guys are okay, and then boom, I send them in, make sure that they at least have have good programming skills or good DBA skills or whatever. They've got to answer a lot of questions because a lot of companies are really getting they're getting technical. They're not playing around. So your skill sets have got to be good. And yeah, you don't have to be a tech. You don't have to have all the certifications to be great.
No.
Depending on the the environment you're in, you can pick up a lot of stuff. Like I said, one of the best Unix / Linux guys I ever got hired was a kid who had servers in his house,
Mhm.
and he was just working on it. He wasn't certified, but was he certified? Oh yeah, he was more than certified because this guy was solving problems that the certified guys couldn't deal with.
Mhm.
So I definitely have seen that, but I think once you have those certifications, what it does is it stands out
Mhm.
on the resume, and people are like, oh, okay, this guy at least he's been certified. Let's bring him in. It'll get the bite that you want. It'll get you into the shop that you might want to get into just because you have that. It's just like somebody who's going to college, but yet somebody else who's going to Harvard.
Mhm.
Harvard degree is going to get you an interview over most other people just because you're more certified than maybe somebody else who's coming out of the State University of Albany or whatever. Um,
Mhm.
you know, that's
Yeah.
just it's kind of how it plays.
And let me add to what you said, Mike, before you move on,
Mhm.
about the performance-based exam.
Mhm.
Um, Red Hat is the actual. Well, they're gonna use CentOS, or I believe it's CentOS.
You have three
I can't
options.
remember.
You have three options. You have Cent,
Oh yeah, you can use Ubuntu as well. Yeah,
and you can use is it Debian, I think, or Mint. I
Debian.
think that I think it might be Debian or Mint. So
Hmm.
or it might be SUSE. It might be OpenSUSE. I think that
Yeah,
might be it.
yeah.
I think it might be OpenSUSE.
Well, just to add to it, all those operating systems that we just listed,
Mhm.
you can download them, and no matter if you're on Windows, Linux, you can install them in a virtual machine,
Mhm.
set it up,
Mhm.
and run these commands and go through all the training that they give you when you purchase this exam. All you
Mhm.
gotta do is spin up that virtual machine on your system, and I have videos on that to show you how to do that if
Mhm.
you're interested. But um, you can learn how to actually spin them up and run through all the training yourself on your own computer on your own time.
Mhm.
So just throw that in there.
Yeah. Let me get to this next article from Red Hat again. Admin 101, Apache Survival Basics. Here's a quick Apache administration rundown for when you get thrown in Apache server to suddenly maintain at work. During my time, let me explain this out. During my time as a support engineer, as well as in the military, I saw several occasions where a system administrator was given the task of administrating a system that they were unfamiliar with. It was, it's always, it always went something like this. The guy who used to own the system took another job, and so they gave it to me until they find a replacement. I find this conversation more times than I could count when it came to storage systems and unsurprisingly enough, web servers as well. Imagine you are thrown into a situation like this. Your company's Apache admin takes another job, gets fired, etc. Your manager comes to you and says that he needs you to run the system until they can get a replacement. So what do you do? Where do you go for answers? What do you need to know for basic operation? These are all great questions that we will answer together. For starters, we need to know what role Apache plays in the environment. Apache is an open source web server that allows us to host content online. If we are visiting a site, it checks our information and then connects us to the web pages and content that we request. In my personal experience, the product that I supported used Apache to host web-based graphical user interfaces so that our customers could manage their storage systems remotely. It allowed them to perform maintenance, upgrades, patches, etc. Now that we have a basic understanding of what Apache is and why we need it, let's look at the basic administration. Turning services on and off. The most basic piece of information you would want to know as an administrator is whether or not the service is up and running. For all services, there are 3 basic commands that you need to get an accurate snapshot of that service's status. You also need to enable services. Apache is one of those. In this article, all commands are run in Red Hat Linux 8, Red Hat Enterprise Linux 8 environment. To enable the Apache service, we use the following command. Systemctl L, enable HTTPD. So D stands for daemon in Linux. So HTTPD or HTTP daemon. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it's actually a good resource. So the links in the description beneath the video, these are all working lines of code. Open the firewall gates. As this is a web server, we need to make sure that the ports are open and listening for web traffic, HTTP and HTTPS. To enable these ports, we need to create a rule in the Linux firewall as shown here. So basically what you're seeing here is that the rule has public, available, and permanent, and add service, which is port 80. And then the firewall command, again, says that the zone should be public, meaning it's publicly available, and permanent, meaning on always, and the service is HTTPS as a success. So it has completed it. And then we have firewall command reload, so starts it over. Configuration and logs. Once you verify that everything is up and running, you may want to change the basic configuration settings. To do this, locate httpd.conf. By default, you will find it here. So we see the command here, change directory, go to etc, and then go to httpd conf, and that will open up the directory, which has ls, which is lists, and lrt. What's that stand for, Keep It Techie?
I know the L is to put it in a format, the format that it's in, and also, you know, list out the other pertinent information next to it, as far as who owns it and all that stuff. But I think the R, it should be recursive. I'm not sure about the T, to be honest. So
Yeah, I haven't seen that command before. That's why I asked. So RW means read write.
yeah. Yeah, it's broken up in 3 different sections. That's the way the permissions or set up. So the first dash means that it's a file. If it's a directory, that first dash would have a D. But since these are files, that's why it has a dash there, and they're read writes by
2 dashes mean
the.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
No, I was trying to remember. But I know the second port is the first port is the user, second port is the group, and the third port is what I'm talking about is the R. The first section has four text spots. There's a dash, the R, and a W, and the dash. That's the four spots of the first section, which is representing the permissions for the actual owner of the file, which is root, as we can see to the right. And then the second section is for the group, which is that second root, because when you create a file on there, it has groups associated with the actual user as well. So that's what that's for. And you can actually change that if you need to. But root is the standard. And then the third one is the global permissions. Um, for meaning anybody that access this system, they'll only have read permissions. So
Mhm.
that's what the R stands for on both of those
Mhm.
uh, other
Mhm.
slides. So
Yeah, zone in the chat is actually echoing some of the stuff that you're saying. So, but this is actually a good resource if you are an accidental Apache administrator. Now,
yeah, and I've
Apache,
actually
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
no, go right ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I've actually done videos on showing people how to set this up. And it's slightly different. Red Hat is different. It uses a different
Mhm.
um program for the firewall, which was that firewall whatever. But in like Ubuntu servers, it's um they have a program that's used to actually IP tables,
Yep,
which
SVD.
does the same thing. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? So I mean, it's all the same. A lot of commands are the same, and a lot of the configurations or in the same locations, um, depending on the distribution you're on, which is Red Hat is the standard. So
Yeah, and Apache also has something called Cloud Stack. So Apache has its own open source cloud computing. So this is the evolution of where Apache is going. Let me read this caption real quick about Cloud Stack. Apache Cloud Stack is open source software designed to deploy and manage large networks of virtual machines as a highly available, highly scalable infrastructure as a service cloud computing platform. Cloud Stack is used by a number of service providers to offer public cloud services and by many companies to provide an on-premise private cloud offering or as part of a hybrid cloud solution. CloudStack is a turnkey solution that includes the entire stack of features most organizations want within IaaS, infrastructure as a service, cloud, compute orchestration, network as a service, user and account management, a full and open native API, resource accounting, and first-class user interface. CloudStack currently supports the most popular hypervisors: VMware, KVM, Citrix Zen Server, Zen Cloud Platform, Oracle VM Server, and Microsoft Hyper-V. Users can manage their cloud with an easy to use web interface, command line tools, and or full featured RESTful API. In addition, CloudStack provides an open API, an API that's compatible with AWS EC2 and S3 for organizations that wish to deploy hybrid models. This is free. This is open source. Keep that in mind. This isn't something you have to pay for. Oh, there's actually a oh, it already happened. Okay. Okay. I'll drop this in the chat as well because I think, you guys should be following this type of stuff if you want to get into IT at the highly butter level. This is not something that this is not Best Buy Geek Squad. This is the real deal. Let me, All right, let me drop the link in the chat.
And just throw this out there.
Yep.
Most people are using Apache if they don't know it. If you have a website, if you own a website on any of these major hosting companies, they're most likely using Apache in the background. It just has a front end for you to um, create other sites and all that stuff under. I forget what they call it. Like HostGator uses. I forget what the name of it is, but it's basically a front end for all these different tools that are running in the background. And most people are using Linux. So, most of the web is Linux based. It's on Apache servers. Websites are mostly on Apache servers. But anyway, I was just adding to it.
All right, let me pull up the next article. All right, this one is from Putoris.net. Cluster SHH manage multiple Linux servers simultaneously. Cluster SSH is a utility that allows you to manage multiple servers over SSH from a single administration console. It was originally designed to work with multiple nodes that make up HPC, high performance computing clusters. These nodes are usually configured identically, therefore requiring the same administrative command to be run on each node. Using cluster SSH allows an administrator to type a command into single console and have it replicated over many systems. As a sysadmin, this tool can be a huge time saver. In this article, we will discuss how to install, configure, and use cluster SSH. I'm not going to go over all of this because we're not installing it right now, but this article is going to show you how to use this great tool. If you're a huge Linux system engineer, this is going to save you a lot of time because now you're batching all of the processes into multiple servers at the same time. When I used to work for a certain company, a certain startup, a couple of years ago, we had 100,000 AWS instances. Most of them ran Linux. I think 99% of them ran Linux. What happens when you have to, perform an update to a kernel or run a script across the cluster? You have to take that into consideration. How are you going to go about doing it? Well, it sounds like this tool, cluster SSH, might very well be the meal ticket. You have anything to say about this, Josh?
Well, the only thing I can add to that, I know this is something that's been done based on me reading the article. This is something that you can currently do in, or has been done in, like specific tools that has already been, kind of put out there where you can control, or you can SSH into multiple Linux boxes at one time. And so, I mean, this is a good article, and I apologize. I was typing in the chat, so I didn't hear everything you said, but cluster SSH, yeah. So that's the tough part of, I would say, as a Linux administrator, or if you have a lot of, and I'm no way near a Linux administrator, but I do have a bunch of Raspberry Pis around my house, and it's tough updating all those bad boys, so and keeping them up to date and what I do is, they're headless, so that they don't have a screen, connected to them. So I have to SSH over my network. And so that's what I do to kind of help with the updates on it. So that's all I can add to this.
Yeah. I would say that This is one of the, things you got to learn about system administration, system engineering. You may be responsible for one server as you come in, but that thing could spiral up, could skyrocket up to 100,000 real quick. I've seen it happen.
And that's where guys who come in on at the entry level got good connections with someone like this who can really come in from a help desk side and really start to learn and get highly butter laid relatively quickly.
Mhm.
Highly butter laid.
Mhm.
So environments like that are great environments to really come off in. As long as you ain't making no big crazy mistakes and put in the wrong commands and crashing servers and all this kind of craziness. But as long as that don't happen.
Crash a server, a production server, that's a resume generating experience, RGE. So
you finish.
mhm. That is a resume generating experience. All right, this one is from ubuntupit.com. Never heard of this before. 40 useful Linux network commands for modern sysadmins. When it comes to establishing stable, secure networks, Linux is the first choice for a majority of us. This accounts for many things, including the massive array of networking tools and commands provided by Linux. You can find a seemingly infinite number of network utilities that will enable you to set up a secure network. Set up secure networks, monitor them for problems, troubleshoot effectively, and so on. The list is, in fact, so extensive that most tutorials on the internet don't even try to cover them. That's why we've curated this well thought guide on various Linux network commands. We've tried to divide the entire guide into specific portions based on tools and their usage. You can use them, or you can use many of these commands in different scenarios. So their grouping isn't strict per se. They are simply here to help you visualize. Although this guide won't cover every Linux network command, you can use this as a reference point wherever you get stuck with networking. Configuring and managing network interfaces is essential for both sysadmins and power users alike. In this section, we will go over some fundamental network commands available in a Linux-like system for this job. ifconfig, iwconfig. I haven't seen that in a while. ifstat. The ifstat command is handy utility that allows sysadmins to read and monitor various network interface statistics like bandwidth usage and so on. eth2.
Can I
Go ahead.
can I interject right fast? I'm sorry. That first command is actually, if you go back up, the first command, ifconfig, is actually being replaced by some new tools. It's IP. It's basically IP tools. So it's
Mhm.
the command is IP space A, and that'll pull up the whole network configuration. So it's slowly being replaced, but ifconfig is still valid, but IP space A is taking over. That's one of the newer network tools. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to undermine what going through, but I just wanted to point it out to anybody.
No, I just want to cover the first 10 because it's 40
I'm
here.
sorry.
I'm not going to cover 40. All
I'm
right,
sorry.
eth2. The eth2 utility allows admins to display and modify the different parameters of network interface controllers and their device drivers. It can be useful for identifying and diagnosing your Ethernet devices and allows you to control the speed, duplex, and flows conveniently. ARPWatch. The ARPWatch utility is a robust Ethernet activity monitoring tool that allows system administrators easily keep track of Ethernet IP address pairings of their network. It can be of extreme importance to enterprise system admins and also Linux power users. You can use ARPWatch to watch specific network interface by using the -I flag as shown below. BMON, the BMON command, not to be confused with B1, the BMON command is arguably among the most useful Linux commands. It is a portable bandwidth monitor and rate estimator that can be used for capturing network statistics and displaying them in a human readable format.
Oh,
Simply invoking this tool will give you a real-time estimation of your network statistics. Use the P flag to get output for a specific interface. Interesting. Number 7 is Telnet. Everybody knows what Telnet is. Number 8 is SSH. Number 9, send mail. Number 10, write. The ability to send messages between different systems users is crucial for multi-user systems such as Linux. The write command can be used for establishing terminal-to-terminal communication sessions in Linux. It is an interactive utility, and thus it is not feasible to use this network command inside scripts. Interesting. Yeah, so I'm not going to read all of them, but this is actually a good collection of network commands. And what I used to do when I used to work in a different role, I use Notepad++. You should go download that for Windows. It is a lifesaver. You can put your commands into, what I used to do is put my commands into Network++, and then when I need to run certain operations, I would just copy and paste it into the command line, and then execute it. And that saved me tons of time. Hey, Zone, have a good night. So that link is in the chat. So if you guys want to need a reference point, that's actually a good reference point. All right, now we're going to get into some blockchain stuff. All right, this one is from Cointelegraph. Programming languages used in blockchain explained. Number one, first, what are programming languages for? Aside from functionality, programming languages are essential in ensuring that blockchain networks and crypto infrastructure are secure. Their role is simple. They enable computers to understand instructions. So that's the gist of what programming languages are for. They enable computers to understand instructions. So number two, what are the most common programming languages? Most common programming languages are CPP, Python, JavaScript, and Solidity are some of the established players in the blockchain programming community. Many of these languages have been around for a significant amount of time and are also used for non-blockchain purposes. Take CPP. It was first conceived in 1985 and was the core language for the network that started it all, Bitcoin. Developers like CPP, because of how it delivers control over memory usage, enables multiple instructions to be executed at the same time. And because of how it has achieved maturity by being around for almost 35 years. Python, born in the early 1990s, is favored because of its simple, minimalistic approach. And this means that bugs in the code can be fixed relatively easily. JavaScript is a major player on the internet as a whole and delivers interactivity with slick user interfaces. The most popular language on Ethereum is Solidity, a language that drew inspirations from CPP, Python, and JavaScript to create an environment that's geared toward blockchain developers. So if you're going to be a blockchain developer, Solidity is going to be your jack of all trades.
Yeah, I'm talking to a guy who's got that skill set right now. We're having a conversation. I'm supposed to talk to him actually in greater detail Monday morning. But yeah, that's, you know, I'm picking up on a lot of this stuff, man, because I have to say, I'm behind on it. So yeah, that's something I'm looking at. I actually have another guy who actually is a Oracle developer, and he has, I think, some Solidity in his background as well. At least he has it on his resume. So that's my understanding. So I'm looking to talk to him as well. So I've got a couple of people who look like they might be able to fit the role, but I got to see how this works out. But this is a great article. In fact, this is really good. I was going to mention that, but this is definitely on point. This is dead on point.
Yeah. What are the downsides? In many cases, the learning curve associated with these programming languages can be steep, to say the least. CPP has a fairly outdated syntax. That's the spelling and grammar associated with the programming language, meaning it's often difficult for developers to get their heads around. Python's simplicity runs the risk of clipping a developer's wings when they are hoping to build an ambitious, complex blockchain network. JavaScript lets the team down because it lacks a SHA-256 hash function, while Solidity is a fairly new language that does not allow additional features to be added to smart contracts once they have been created. So that's that. Number 4, why is picking the right programming language so important? Because it can have a huge impact on blockchain platforms' future success. Security is obviously the main concern, not least because a vulnerability can have a fatal effect on confidence in the network. When selecting a programming language, this should be top of the list. Given the fact that anyone can add to a blockchain and access the code, it's also worth producing code and building a network that can withstand as many requests as users are willing to throw at it. If it's unstable or if it's unable to perform to the standard required and buckles under pressure because it's not versatile enough, this could be disastrous for scalability and development in the future. Are there any new solutions? Some new offerings are attempting to deliver languages that bring coding into the 21st century fit for the blockchain age. One of them is Ride, which builds itself as a straightforward, concise language that's easy for humans to read. The benefit of this is how it can reduce the time and resources needed to bring blockchain solutions to the market. The strongly typed, non-Turing complete language is designed to help developers avoid common critical mistakes that can stop code from running effectively. It also runs on a protocol that delivers flat fees and no gas, ensuring that the costs associated with the decentralized application operations are known in advance to prevent nasty surprises. And this is the last one, 6. And what does Ride run on? Ride has been specifically designed for Waves, a least proof of stake protocol. Wave says its aim is to build an environment in which developers can program in chunks, all with a view to ensuring that the ecosystem of decentralized applications can move toward the Web 3.0, a new era relating to how internet users and apps interact online. So you wanted to get into blockchain. This article will point you in the right direction. Solidity is used with Ethereum, but JavaScript, Python still in demand. So keep that in mind when you're going into this.
And Michael, what do you think, Mike? What do you think about as far as Oracle development? Oracle developer. Even though my understanding, there's going to be some blockchain and that it's not going to be compatible, or with some of the applications. How do you feel that that, let's say, somebody who's got an Oracle development background, the latest release, General Ledger, the whole game, and segueing over to blockchain, do you feel that is that's doable?
Yeah, it's doable. I think blockchain is distributed ledger technology, right? So
Right.
you're talking about an ongoing database, network database.
Right.
if you have a database background, this is going to bring you 50% of the way,
Right.
because you have a better understanding of how databases work, and blockchain is really pretty straightforward in terms of how databases work, right? RDB, right? RDBS, right? Relational database system.
Relational database management system. Yeah, RDBMS. Yep. So SQL would also be quite applicable as well. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah, all that stuff is all applicable. It's relative. You sit down and kind of look, because okay, so database architecture is going to be it's going to be generalized, right? If you have an understanding of one database, you have an understanding of another, minus the syntax and structures, or minus the syntax and rules that are along with it. But once you start applying code to it, like blockchain, then that's where the difficulty starts to come in, right? So it's going to be it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be some teething, but that's that's stuff that you can learn in 90 days.
Secure and authentication and all that. How do you feel how that would work with blockchain?
Well, that's blockchain's merits, right? Secure and authentication. That's its merits, because it's immutable.
It's immutable, so
it can't be tampered with without the other nodes on the network rejecting it, because it's out of compliance.
I got a strange guy that came up on me the other day. Pretty strange, really strong technology background, but very strong development. And he has been doing development in some old shops with Sybase. Anybody know Sybase development? What do you know about Sybase?
That's pretty old stuff, man.
And it's old. It's old. Is it being used anywhere currently?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? That's my question. Are you coming across it anywhere?
I haven't seen Sybase since the late 1990s.
Still out there, man. Shit is still out there. Still out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, some people get wrapped up in those old languages and don't seem to, I guess, expand their knowledge. I mean, it's good to get good at a programming language, but some people get wrapped into it so deep where they can't see anything else. And which is not a good thing, in my opinion, because technology is always changing. New programming languages are always becoming more popular and work with new technologies that are coming up. So you gotta keep your knowledge. I guess you have to constantly learn. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Because I mean, if you dig deep into a programming language to the point where that's all you're like a super expert in that one programming language, it's not going to help you in the future. Yeah, you'll be good at that one programming language, but outside of that, what else can you do?
I'm seeing that it's relational. It's another RDBM. And I didn't think Python would have. Python's been around since the 90s. I've seen Python around a long time. We would never thought that would have, taken the prominence that it's taken today. It's kind of strange, but it's I know there are reasons why Python is as popular as it is today, as far as usage. But yeah, it's just it's kind of funny. There's a lot of stuff still around. All right, I'm okay, Mike. Go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. Python really came out of nowhere for a lot of people. Oh, have you learned Python before? Python's been around for a long time, but the question is, why is it so widely used now as opposed to when it was before? It's because of how these new systems are working. Android and things like that just makes it so much simpler to develop on that. It becomes ubiquitous in terms of development.
That's true, because I have a client. Well, actually, I'm working with someone else on a client called TrackPhone. I'm sure you guys know who they are.
Yep.
And Java, Python is big there. And they're with all the AWS and all the cloud stuff. So they're that's big with them. So I thought that was quite interesting. But I'm getting some recs from them as well. So
JavaScript or Java?
Java and JavaScript. But JavaScript, certainly scripting language, very heavy, very heavy scripting peoples. But I'm going over the Rex now. I can get into it a little bit more when I get everything in. But track phone, yeah. So
Yeah, track phones are widely used for a variety of cases. You know, a lot of people associate it with just cheap phones, but there's a variety of areas that they function. So
yep.
all right, let me get to this next article, man. Mhm. All right, this one is from App Inventive. Interesting, interesting title. Programming languages to learn in 2020. Or 15 blockchain programming languages to learn in 2020. So we just went over this earlier. I'm just going to kind of breeze through it. Unless you are living under the rocks, it is, let me expand this out. It is likely that you would be familiar with what is blockchain and what is its potential when it comes to reforming the tech world. The technology that have been driving force of cryptocurrencies has taken the front seat and come up with a myriad of options to mitigate the traditional challenges that a myriad of industries face, helping them grab better opportunities. It has proven to hold the potential to revamp the whole economy, be it healthcare, travel, education, or legal domain. A ripple impact of which is that today both startups and Fortune 500 companies like IBM and Accenture are putting efforts towards making their presence known in the blockchain arena. Because of this rather sudden mass adoption, the number of blockchain jobs are increasing in the market exponentially. A clear indication of which is that a 517% rise in predicted in the number of blockchain jobs in 2019 compared to 2018. 517% rise in blockchain jobs. Interesting. And behind the curtains, the tech stack, the type of platforms and blockchain programming languages are also evolving. While many traditional ones are proving to be undisputed leaders, many new entrants are bringing radical changes in the development environment. This as a whole is making it necessary for all blockchain enthusiasts to be familiar with the best blockchain programming languages to head start with. Something we will cover in this article. But before that, you will be able to earn brownie points if you go through a blockchain development guide to have a clarity of concepts and get familiar with the challenges developers come across while starting their journey in this innovative technology. All right, challenges you might face while entering the blockchain development world. A, resource management. B, isolation. C, lower performance. So here are the 15 languages to consider for developing blockchain applications. Solidity is one, we just covered that. 2 is Java. Nagon just mentioned that. 3 is Python.
Yep.
Talked about that. 4 is JavaScript.
Yep.
5 is PHP.
PHP, man.
6.
C++, you know it.
Yep. 6 is C++. 7 is C#.
You know it.
8 is Go. So Go is Google's language. 9 is simplicity. I haven't heard of this one.
Simplicity, I've seen it around, but I've not ever recruited anyone for it. I've seen it on resumes.
All right, 10 is Ruby.
Ruby.
Not to be confused with BGS for women. Um, Ruby is yet another top blockchain development language to head start your career with. Developed by Yukiro Matz in the mid 1990s, this high-level and general-purpose programming language empowers developers to prototype their vision effectively and effortlessly through an open-source third-party APIs and plugins. The language also gives developers an opportunity to mix its features with that of other languages to build on enhanced platform.
Yep.
It is highly considered by Asian developers for building blockchain-based software in platforms. 11 is Rust.
Yeah, it's very common with. Okay.
12 is SQL.
You know it. You know it.
Yeah, 12 is SQL. So we talked about this earlier, and Josh is actually a DBA. So he could probably speak more to SQL on this issue.
Just said I'm getting a lot for SQLs for sure.
Oh yeah, managing transactions.
Yes, because big with banks and Ruby big with banks as well. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, let me just read this caption real quick. SQL structural query language is also one of the top blockchain programming languages to consider in 2020. The language was designed by IBM to make communication with databases like MySQL, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, and Oracle easier and efficient. It has more than 7 million developers in the industry and is used for building secure and effective enterprise solutions in blockchain domain. A clear evidence of which is Ergo. Yeah, so we talked about SQL before, and the need to really understand SQL, the need to understand Linux and tie all of this stuff into one cyclical loop. Before there used to be something called LAMP stack, Linux, Apache,
MySQL.
Perl. Yep, MySQL and Perl. So that used to make up LAMP. I don't really see too much of that anymore, but that's still relevant in terms of a stack, right? Because that's how most front end stacks are really built. What's going on over there? Somebody trying to beam you up, Scotty?
Nah, I'm just that was just my just downstairs. It was just my my heater.
Oh, okay. I thought that was, yeah, I thought that was like a Star Trek phaser or something like that. No. Josh, what can you say about SQL in your experience?
Yeah, and to be honest, I can't relate it too much to blockchain, but I mean SQL is it's the standard language for all the databases. They all use different variations in certain parts of the syntax, but it's pretty much the same on how you interact with the actual database. But yeah, it's an important language to learn. And what Mike said, LAMP stack is still being used. I have a video on that as well, setting up a LAMP stack. It's Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, and you can also learn some PHP. I've seen that above in the program in this list. PHP is how they dynamically create web pages, which is why most of the internet is not indexed for Google. Like most of the internet is actually not indexed because whenever you go, let's say you go to Amazon and search for a product, Well, Google doesn't know to search for that product, so they can't
Mhm.
index it. So that's what PHP does. It creates dynamic page websites or web pages.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, SQL is with LampStack, you can get in there and you can start typing out SQL commands by just they have a great resource on you can go to Oracle's website, which MySQL is Oracle's product. Um, and MS SQL obviously is the Microsoft version, but a lot of the syntax is pretty much the same. You can set up your own SQL server and start playing around with it to
Mhm.
learn.
Nagone, you have anything you want to add to that from a recruiter standpoint? Like, are you seeing SQL come across any recs?
No, I think you guys have pretty much covered it, but that's dead on it. I mean, these are the recs that I'm dealing with a lot of, Plus, I have some sales engineers, pre-sales engineers positions, and that's a little bit different. But yeah, that's that's right on it. And what my man was just saying a second ago is correct. So yeah, I'm just this is quite frankly for me right now. It's pretty funny, just recruiting. I'm just looking at all this so I can speak with some of the companies and talk to them a little bit more about technologies and really help to shape the recs even a little bit better for what they might need,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of work along that. Now this is directly relevant to what I'm doing. This is it's pretty damn good, man. Damn,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah, number 13 is Erlang. I haven't heard of this one.
I don't
Erlang is
know.
another top blockchain coding language you must consider for a brighter future ahead. The language, though less popular than um, reputed names like Java, JavaScript, and Python, serves blockchain development companies with options like unparalleled back-end facility, higher scalability, immutability, inherent fault tolerance, and more. Something that makes it the right choice for building peer-to-peer networks in a blockchain environment.
Erlang. Wow. Who is that the language in the company as well, or is
No, it
he?
sounds like just system language. Rolang, number 14. Rolang is yet another impressive addition in the list of blockchain programming languages. The language, unlike C++ and Python, operates with functional approach over object oriented.
Oh shit.
So this is closer to Python. It also assesses the whole app as a series of functions which are then solved in a sequential manner. Because of this, it is a favorite of developers when they wish to build a high-level project like smart contracts. So this would be used more for smart contract developer. So I don't know anybody who uses this, but I guess if it's out there, it must be a considerable mention. CX has also entered the list of top blockchain programming languages. The language has the potential to work as a contractual digital intermediary and comes loaded with features like simple error control process and opportunity to use propelled cuts, pointers, and arrays. It also assembles over Go and gives users an escape from executing discretionary codes, which has been a critical issue for present day businesses. What's more, the language integrates with OpenGL, Open Graphics Library, efficiently and help developers reap the benefits in terms of GPU's capacity. So for those of you who don't understand what's being said here, is your graphics processing unit, whether it's NVIDIA or AMD Radeon or Intel integrated graphics, they're able to utilize the processing performance of those graphic cards for blockchain applications. This is huge because now you're talking about highly scalable, high performing computing in terms of the blockchain. This is a game changer for all intents and purposes. If you understand this, you're playing in a different league.
You sure are. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, go right ahead.
No. Go ahead, bro.
No,
Go
I
ahead.
was just gonna say. Yeah, I was just gonna add to that that's why these people that have these or they do a bunch of Bitcoin mining, they have a bunch of GPUs.
Yep.
The GPUs have the performance to calculate those Bitcoin transactions, and I forget exactly how it works. Talk to Lionel to find out how it works, but I know it has to compute those transactions, or it's almost like a lottery system. And that's how they mine the Bitcoin, and they'll have a warehouse full of these little boxes with GPUs on them,
Yep.
mining Bitcoin. So
Ant farms. Yep.
Yep.
All right, let me finish reading this out. All right, the frequently asked questions. Are blockchain developers in demand? Yes, blockchain developers are highly in demand. In fact, it has been found that demand for blockchain engineers this year is 517% more than what it was recorded last year. How many blockchain jobs are there in the market? When it comes to the number of blockchain jobs in the market, there are more than 4,065 and 5,711 blockchain job listings on LinkedIn and Glassdoor, respectively.
They're not getting filled, and those jobs are only going to increase.
Yeah. What do you need to learn in order to start developing on blockchain? Though the answers to this question is too vast, let us summarize in a few basic pointers. Strong knowledge of the basics of blockchain development, i.e. its characteristics and popular platforms. Awareness of the points of failure in the overall system. Expertise at top blockchain programming languages. Familiarity with popular cryptocurrencies and the concept of cryptocurrency mining. A background in web development, networking, and security. What language is Ethereum coded in? Ethereum, which is currently in its 2.0 version, is coded in Go, C++, and Rust. What language is Bitcoin blockchain written in? The Bitcoin programming language, as per our experts in, is written in C++. So you got to know C++. What languages are needed to code the blockchain? There are a heap of programming languages that can be used for blockchain development. This includes primitive languages like C++, Java, JavaScript, and Python, and new entrants like Solidity, Simplicity, and CX. So Nagone has talked about, from a recruiting standpoint, how difficult it is to find blockchain developers. But we read an article earlier, the first item on the docket, that talked about taking non-conventional tech people and bringing them into the tech field and teaching them in less than a year, or even just over a year. People who have different backgrounds, man.
And renegades, these renegade cats are running up into this blockchain pretty heavy.
Yep.
These renegades, if you want to explain that, what a renegade might be to you, Mike.
Yeah, renegade is a person who can write their own ticket. They usually don't take any orders from anybody. They usually kind of work as mercenaries. Like they hired guns. They come in under their own LLC and basically run shop. By running their own game. And it's hard to contain those guys. So you have to be nice to them. or else you'd be SOL, because they're the SMEs, the subject matter experts. You want to kind of put yourself in that perspective too, as a black man. You want to be able to walk in and command the room.
Let me ask you a question. Would you consider them to be select?
They are very select. They are highly select. These guys are mercenaries. I've met some of these guys in person. They know everything. They are like robots. They know everything. If you try to run a game on them, they will run that game right back on you 2 times. Most of the guys I met at these blockchain meet groups, meetups, they know their shit top to bottom, east or left to right, east to west, north to south, man. You can't say nothing to them. And they're in my experience, um, they're actually pretty helpful. You have some questions, man, they'll answer the questions, man. So get out there and actually talk to these people. My I just saw a message come in. Get out there and talk to these people and have a conversation. You'd be surprised how much you can pick someone's brain in 5 minutes. You'd be very surprised, man. I mean, I'm a tech person. Josh is a tech person, but Josh will tell you right away, I don't know much about blockchain, so I can't really speak to that. That's the sort of response I expect from someone who doesn't know, right? I don't expect anybody to try to BS me. I think what happens here is, with these renegades, man, they do get a bad reputation, but you got to be able to sit down and have a conversation with them. I in the security game, cybersecurity game, I have a couple of mentors, and they are renegades, man. They go from company to company to company on a regular basis. That's just the way how they are. They can't be controlled or they can't be tamed.
That's a renegade.
All right, let me get to this one of the last items on the docket. All right, this one is from visualcapitalist.com. Never heard of this. Exploring the practical applications of blockchain technology. In a few short years, blockchain technology has been steadily gaining traction in traditional business applications around the world. So much so that blockchain-focused venture capital fundraising tripled to $3 billion between years 2017 and 2018 for practical uses of for blockchain tech. Today's graphic from NovaCoin highlights 4 major sectors where blockchain technology is being used to innovate and enhance important business processes. In an increasingly digital world, which industries are being transformed by blockchain. 4 practical applications for blockchain technology. Financial industry. Blockchain secure features enable people and entities to safely perform financial transactions from anywhere in the world. Asset management, insurance claims processing, cross-border payments, money transfers and payments online are made more secure, fast, and less prone to delays and errors with blockchain technology. So for those of you who don't understand, there is a European westernized system, finance system called SWIFT. And what SWIFT does is it allows international banks to process their payments through that system to deal with Western entities. That system is very slow. There's something called an ACH payment that you make when you go to Western Union or any other institution. It takes 72 hours for that payment to clear through the traditional SWIFT system. With blockchain, that happens in milliseconds. The click of a mouse, it's done. No waiting, no nothing. That's the power of blockchain. From an asset management standpoint, you can put all your computers and other corporate assets on to the blockchain, and it's immutable. So therefore, everything that's put on there is accurate, or it has to be accurate, and because it can't be tampered with. Insurance claims, same thing. Number 2, smart contracts. Smart contracts powered by blockchain get rid of the third party in overseeing the creation and completion of contracts. Instead, people can use pre-drafted contracts, which can be modified and shared in one ledger. So where would these smart contracts be used? In entertainment, the ledger provides a transparent transmission of royalties to everyone included in the label. It also helps musicians and other artists easily and quickly monitor and claim royalties for their work. So what happens in entertainment and even outside of entertainment, let's say an artist, right? Let's say an artist created something digitally or on a canvas. Smart contract can determine whether or not the auction price that the piece of work is going to be auctioned off for meets the demand, and then the smart contract says yes, we accept a $3 million offer, and then it processes the payment, so on and so forth. All right, healthcare. So smart contracts provided for providers, and drug manufacturers make way for a convenient and easy management of digital records. When a patient seeks a form of care, that procedure is recorded in the blockchain. Again, blockchain comes to the rescue in healthcare. The only problem is that the blockchain has to be private because HIPAA in America requires that that information be controlled. That patient health record or electronic medical record has to be controlled. Sensitive data has to be controlled. It cannot be visible to the public. But on a blockchain, that would all be sorted out. Government. Blockchain technology can set up a decentralized system and that prevents any form of voting fraud or suspicious movements in the network. This is very true. However, no democratic institution would ever tolerate a blockchain-based system for voting because you end up with elections that don't go the way of the party, and thus people become sore losers. Number three, digital IDs. Blockchain technology will eliminate the need for physical identification and replacing it with digital IDs. This can resolve the issue of identity theft and allows millions of people to claim and control their identities. Identity verification, blockchain's multi-step and multi-factor identity verification process eclipses the levels of security that traditional password protection offers. This is very true. Secure identities for the decentralized web. Big data and data sharing by third-party companies has resulted in intrusive advertising. Blockchain-based identification will mean that no third parties are able to access your personal data without consent. This is a very powerful issue because what's been happening with Black people in particular is that a lot of the advertising has been shifted towards ADOS, Nikes, Corona, Cavassier, all this other stuff, all these other items have been advertised towards them because they've been collecting enough data on that demographic. Your iPhone, your Android phone, all of that stuff collects data based on your viewing habits, and then that data gets sold to the highest bidder. If everyone's phone had some form of blockchain encryption in it where your data has been privatized and encrypted, then third-party companies cannot access your data unless they request it from you through a smart contract, and then they have to compensate you for your data that they're looking to exploit. This is a game changer. All right.
That would be great to have, and boy, you would have a lot of fight back from the from all these different marketing agencies and all these different companies to really get that information to sell to the big corporations so they could sell you other kind of crap. It would, it would be a game changer where you would have a lot of money going against you on that as well, because they want that access. They want they want to know what you're doing. They want to know what you're buying so they can get to you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would be a game changer. I'd love to see it. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. All right. Number four is blockchain Internet of Things. Blockchain strengthens and streamlines the interconnectedness of IoT. It eliminates third-party entities and simplifies the action and flow of all connected devices. So one of the primary benefits of blockchain technology is its immutability, the unchangeable nature of the ledger, data posted on the network. So anything that goes on there cannot be altered. So therefore it can't be faked. This critical feature can provide widespread benefits across a variety of industries around the world. Let's dive into some key examples. Major practical applications of blockchain: financial services, smart contracts, digital IDs, blockchain Internet of Things. All right, let me just read this one caption real quick on this last article, and then we'll go into Q&A for everybody who's curious. This one is from CoinTelegraph.com. Blockchain must solve these 3 issues to avoid quantum threat, expert. The blockchain community should immediately begin to working on the 3 issues to prevent being overtaken by quantum computers, a cryptography expert says. Zhen Fan, head of cryptography at privacy and IoT-focused blockchain platform IoTEX, published an article in the International Business Times on November 7th, calling on the blockchain community to stay up to date about the progress being made on quantum computers. While reiterating that short-term developments in quantum computing are modest, Fan argued that blockchains will have to keep pace to avoid being overtaken by quantum computers as the technology grows and improves. As such, Fan outlined 3 major directions for the blockchain community to address as soon as possible, which are the standardization of quantum resistant cryptography, cryptographic agility, and blockchain governance. According to the expert, the first direction is a process of standardized quantum resistance cryptography as it develops. Fan noted that quantum resistant cryptography tech has already been initiated by the National Institute of Standards and Technology. So what's happening here is that quantum computers' ability to do math is so vast that it can crack the hash functions in encryption on most systems today, or it will be able to crack it in the next 2 years. By 2022, most of these systems will crack all of your passwords in just a few seconds. When you start talking about this from a nation state standpoint, Russia, China, India, Japan, Germany, the Netherlands, Estonia, Poland, they all have access to the UK as well, and France. They all have access to the ability to build their own quantum-based system. China has one of the most powerful quantum systems right now to date. I think Google just came out with one last month, another one that has very powerful functionality. But in the hands of the right country, the right nation state, it can be weaponized and it can crack all the passwords that everybody has on their computers and their devices and in their bank accounts, and will drain all of those bank accounts if they have access to it. Same thing with health medical records. They can access those records and then sell them on the black market on the deep web, and then you're fucking screwed. So having a quantum computer is like having a weapon of mass destruction. So that's the extent of that article. I'm not going to go too deep into it. Let's get into some Q&A. I don't know if Nagone has anything he wants to add to what he's heard so far. Maybe Josh may have had something he wanted to show.
Just give me a few. I got someone over here. Just let me take care of a few things. Yep. I'll be right with you in a few. All right.
Josh, what's your favorite Linux distro?
Okay, so my favorite distribution is Arch, which is it's just another distribution out there. I mean, it uses the Linux kernel. They all use the Linux kernel, which is open source. Um, and I think I said this once before, but you can go right on GitHub and look at the source code for the Linux kernel. It's directly on GitHub, and you can see the changes real time. But anyway, so Arch has its own what distinguish it from, let's say, Debian or any of the other distributions. It has its own package manager, uh, and its own community behind it. Um, but yeah, and that's one thing about Arch that I like, the community behind it, because I'm constantly learning. I don't know everything about Linux. It's vast amount of programs, applications out there that you can, use, desktop environments, all that. But their community is one of the best out there as far as Linux operating system. But Arch is not for um new users to Linux. So I wouldn't recommend it because it's difficult to install. I mean, it's not really difficult. If you understand the way computers work and how an operating system runs, then yeah, you can install it. Because it's all command line based, and you have to set up the partitions and just go through and set up the boot uh directory, install grub. If it's UEFI, you gotta put special scripts in there to get it to boot up correctly. But um it's not difficult. It's just you gotta have understanding of how operating systems work, in my opinion. And
Now
just
you
to throw this out there, go ahead.
no, you said grub. Now is that something that brothers eat? Is that like when brothers get hungry? What is that?
Nah, Grub is the actual manager of the operating systems. Like back in the day, um, I'm trying to remember if it was used. Well, I mean, I know you can use it with any operating system. Well, it's mainly how people dual boot. That's normally when you see it.
I
I mean,
think
it pops up every time you. Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just saying that I think grub stands for Grand United bootloader, if I remember correctly, or boot
Yeah,
system.
it's the boot. Yeah, it's the boot. It basically directs the computer to the actual OS or the boot directory of the OS that you want to boot into. It's a very small application that's on the front of the partition that kind of directs everything
Mm-hmm.
when you're booting up the system.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think everybody should know Linux. Let me actually put the Linux foundation in the chat, because I think that some of these guys, or some of these people, may be interested in seeing what the Linux Foundation is from a certification standpoint. So if you go to Linux Foundation, you go to training, you go to certification, you'll see that there's a array of certifications offered. Linux certified system admin, sysadmin, Linux certified engineer, Cloud Foundry certified developer, Kubernetes administrator. You can't really understand Kubernetes unless you understand Linux, if that makes any sense. Kubernetes and Linux goes together. Kubernetes is the container orchestration automation tool. Basically, these are micro VMs for applications that would run on top of a virtual machine in Linux. So in Linux, you have something called KVM, that is the kernel virtual machine, and then you would run Kubernetes on top of that for application virtualization, which then allows you to build out hundreds of containers or hundreds of applications to work in tangent with each other. You can build Kubernetes nodes.
Yep.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was just agreeing with you. I say, yep.
Yep. And then you have Kubernetes application developer. So application developer goes with administrator. So an application developer would be the person in charge of building out applications within the containers. And then you have certified Hyperledger Sawtooth, which is a blockchain certification. I think that's Intel's version of blockchain, Hyperledger Sawtooth. And then you have Hyperledger Fabric Administrator, which is in IBM's version of, or IBM's contribution to the blockchain in this regard. This is their baby, and this is Intel's baby. And then you have open node or Node.js, and then Node.js application developer and Node.js services developer. I personally have never worked with Node.js, so I don't know really much about it. You need experience to get a job, and a job to get experience. So interesting. But I'll definitely drop this in the chat. Where you at? Okay. Keep it techie, aqua techie. Too many techies up in here.
I saw that.
Oh man. Let me see. Let me go through the chat, see if we have any questions that anybody left and we didn't get to.
Yeah, I think it was one up there above.
Richard Victor Dixon has always got some passion, man. Niggas here in the US still on that ADOS token black bullshit. He's always on fire about something, man. He says brothers need to start coming up with proof of concepts and business plans to create our own software products on the continent. Black owned top to bottom software companies on the continent. Can't disagree with you on there, Richard. Let me see.
Yeah, Espresso Beats. He had a question.
I'm not seeing that. Okay. Espresso Beat says, "What's up, fellas? I got some classes on EDX and Udemy on Python, JavaScript, and data science, Bitcoin, and logic and computational thinking. Is this a good start? And what certs are most important?" So let me say this: there are no certs, at least to my knowledge, on Python and JavaScript. Either you can write the code or you can't. It's just that simple. Data science, you can get a certificate in data science. I don't know what your background is previously and currently, so that's always going to be taken into consideration. Bitcoin and logic. See, when you start adding Bitcoin, data science onto your resume, then you kind of look like you're all over the place, to be quite honest. So I would say stick with one thing. If it's going to be data science, let it be data science. You can use Python in data science. You can use JavaScript in other areas, but you're definitely going to need Python and R. You're going to have to have an understanding of SQL. So we talked about that earlier. database administration or database development. So you can't really certify it in those areas, but what you can do is you can demonstrate those skill sets in other places, doing internships, doing externships, and actually, you know, jumping on to small projects. If you look around in your area, depending on where you are, I know some of the big tech cities always have, developer contributors to the platform that they may be working on. So stuff like Docker, stuff like LAMP stack, like how Josh and I were talking about earlier. If you have, if you're willing to eat, ramen noodles for a few months, man, there's a lot of companies that would be glad to take you on, especially AWS. From what I understand, AWS seems to take on anybody with a literacy of what they need. Facebook too. Facebook is actually pretty good at taking people too. If you ever want to get involved in that, Facebook does a lot of data mining and big data engineering. So because they're a data company before they're a social media company. Let me see. Mr. Benevolent said he started coding. He started Code Academy today. Good for you. Bloodsport says, do you need experience for blockchain jobs? You absolutely do need experience. Whether you're going to be a blockchain administrator or a blockchain engineer or a blockchain developer, you need some form of experience. Not directly in that, but something close relatively to that. Somebody who came with a finance background might, or an auditor's background for that matter, might be a strong candidate for blockchain jobs, since that's the stuff they usually monitor and administer. So Espresso Beat says, which field make good money? So we read an article earlier at the top of the hangout, and the first item on the docket showed how much these jobs are willing to pay. So every job that we've mentioned is 6 figures and up. There is no good money.
Yeah, it's all on. Yeah, it's all on what direction you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
They all make good money. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AO says, ask in the chat. He asks, how do I get into cloud? Well, there's a few ways of going about that, man. You can smoke a little cannabis, man. Be on cloud 9. You could take a plane and be up in the clouds. But to really answer your question, to get into the cloud, you got to have a good IT background. And the reason why I say this is because, and I know some people may disagree with me. The reason why I say this is because if you don't have a really basic rudimentary understanding of IT, information technology, the underlying enterprise architecture and stack, it's going to be really difficult to wrap your head around all the moving parts. AWS has probably 100 different services that go into their cloud offerings. I mean, every week they come up with something new. I can't even wrap my head around it, and I have to, deal with this stuff. So I can only imagine, somebody who's coming from the outside trying to get into that. they would be overwhelmed by it. So what I'm saying here is you got to have a pretty efficient background in IT to really understand what's going on in the cloud and how do you get involved in that. You can read all the books you want to. Books are really good to read. Videos are really good to watch, but it's nothing like having some form of strong background experience. I always tell people, man, if you're trying to get into IT, don't shun those help desk jobs, because a lot of the problems that are going to be inside your queue may actually come from that environment that you're going to end up transitioning into later. A help desk job may have 80% downtime, 20% active load. That's always the case in the holidays, but during the on season, you're going to be 80% loaded and 20% rest time, where it's where a lot of your what we call alert burnout starts to come in. So he asked AO, should I start with AWS cert? I don't think you should start with an AWS cert personally. I think that you should actually follow CompTIA's career path, and they have a Cloud Essentials, Cloud Plus, and they actually do a lot of webinars on this type of stuff. If you sign up on their CompTIA page, it's pretty good stuff. The only reason I advise against going into AWS is because you lock yourself into a brand in their product, and that's not really the business, because Amazon Amazon is competing with Microsoft and DigitalOcean and Oracle and many of these other cloud providers. You don't want to lock yourself into one brand and be well, I only know AWS. Well, what about Azure? Azure is about to take 80% market share by next summer. You got to figure out how this is going to work in your perspective. So
Yeah, and I agree with you, Mike. Don't focus on the cert directly from those companies. Just start at that CompTIA level, and then there's always the Udemy training. Like I just did the AWS Udemy training, where I just got the Udemy cert, whatever is but that's just an add-on to the basics that as a systems administrator, network administrator, whatever. It's just an add-on or plus.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, Terrence Forrest asks, I work in insurance and learning how to code. What would be a good way to get experience with blockchain? That's a good question. That's actually a Lionel question. You might want to get in contact with Lionel about that. But my experience is that the best way to get into blockchain is actually through literacy. So if you take up one of these blockchain classes that Lionel has taken on EDX, I think it's from Berkeley College, that's actually a good primer. And I think the Linux Foundation has something called Blockchain for Business. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Blockchain for Business. Oh, okay, here we go. Who's this trying to get on? All right, this is from edx.org. This is the Linux Foundation. Blockchain technologies are changing industries. Professional certificate in blockchain for business. So expert instruction, self-paced, 2 to 4 months, 84 to 112 hours of effort, and $178 for the full program. You can't really beat this. So what's involved in this blockchain for business certificate? Blockchain, understanding its uses and implications. Introduction to Hyperledger blockchain technologies. We just talked about that on the certifications page about Hyperledger Fabric, and Hyperledger Sawtooth. So that's where all this comes in. This is actually a pretty good course. I wouldn't mind taking it myself if I had the time. So let me drop that in the chat for what's this brother down in the chat? Terrence. Marvin Evans says, do I need an IT degree? Not necessarily, depending on what role you're trying to get yourself into. If you're just trying to get into help desk, you don't need a degree in that. If you're trying to become an enterprise architect, you may need a degree. I know most corporations will filter out those who do not have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree in MIS. AL says, I have no problem starting at help desk, but no longer than 4 years. Nobody stays on help desk for longer than 4 years. Help desk is usually a year and a half.
Yeah, help desk is kind of like the tip of the spear. So you kind of like in the military, infantry is the tip of the spear, or the Marine Corps. The infantry is tip of the spear. You see the problems when they first arise, and so you'll get hit with it first, and then also a lot of these companies have ticketing systems, so you can track the full process of what was done to actually fix the problem. And if you're smart, you would go in and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to say anything degrading, but if you just sit there and go through and look at these tickets and see what's done after the fact, if you can, because some of those systems don't allow you to get in there and see it once it's transferred to like a higher tier, but you can kind of see and then do your own research, after work, and then you can come in and be like, oh, I already know how to do that, I already know where it needs to go, and then that looks good, as far as your experience goes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Let me see these other questions in the chat. What course is good to start with cloud computing? That's a good question. CompTIA has pretty good cloud essentials. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let me share my screen. All right, this one is from CompTIA.org. CompTIA Cloud Essentials Plus is for both IT and non-technical professionals who require the essential business acumen needed to make informed cloud service decisions. So, new exam launches November 12th, 2019. So, was that starting Tuesday? You'll have a new exam. That's interesting. So if you look at the preparation page, you'll see that it compares itself to the other certifications. Foundational business assessments for cloud services, focus, entry level, vendor neutral. You're not beholden to a brand and everything else like that. So this is where you would start the bare minimum. You really can't go any further than this, any lower than this. So let me drop that in the chat for you. And let me Marvin Evans says, I just want to be a developer. Developers are usually the drivers behind the building process of applications. So I'm not sure how good you are at coding and things of that nature, software development, software engineering, application development, app dev. Those things matter. You can do that without a degree, but I'm not sure how, see, the thing about going to college and getting a degree is not just for the piece of paper, but it's also for the networking aspect. A lot of people that you're going to graduate with are going to be people that you run into within the industry itself.
And Marvin, just throw that out there. I mean, you had to figure out what type of developer you want to be as well, because there's web development and, like Mike said, application development, which and that'll direct you in the type of coding language that you need. Because I mean, I've seen people, their title is a developer and they developed, access databases because they know what's the coding language, VBA. They know VBA, and so
Visual
they
Basic.
develop an access database, which is kind of a front end. You can actually link that to SQL, uh, and then also developing on the PHP side. Like what we were saying earlier, doing web development. So it all depends on what you're trying to get into and what direction you want to go into, because development, is kind of vast. So.
All right. Mega Montana asks, how does fintech play in getting a job in blockchain? So fintech is blockchain. There is no separation between the two. You can't have fintech without blockchain. Dave Tile says, you basically paying for networking with people. Well, you're paying for access to social spaces. You think about Mark Zuckerberg and in Facebook, and his compadres. They all knew each other from school. That's how that came out. That's how that came to be. Same thing with Bill Gates and Microsoft. It was him, Ballmer, and a couple of those guys, and I think there's a female with them too. They all went to school together. And from there, other companies that we know today, Adobe spun off from Xerox, which they were all running in these same circles. That's how that works. Wait, am I muted? No.
Yeah, and a lot of times in these tech spaces, it's not only about what you know, but it's who you know. That'll get you further. So
Yep. Yep. Social networking is key. Black people are socially network poor because they don't have access to these institutions and these people. So therefore, most jobs are word of mouth. Or most people get hired through word of mouth. And if you're not in these social networks, you're not getting in. So Black people are network poor. That's just the nature of it. So AO asks so exactly how could one get into help desk? You apply. For there's never a shortage of help desk jobs openings on Indeed. Let me show you. It's not the right one. All right, let me share my screen real quick. I'm searching the Atlanta area, but this is what came across my screen. Help desk technician, 1 a.m. to 9 a.m. shift, Sunday through Thursday, $18 to $20 an hour down in Atlanta. Or at least down in Georgia. IT support for 45,000 to 65,000 a year in Georgia. Help desk 32,000, 35,000, Georgia State University. Morehouse School of Medicine, help desk technician. Doesn't say how much the value is, but it's Morehouse. Human Services, Georgia Department, DHS. Help desk analyst, 36,000 to 51,000. So you're right around anywhere between 30,000 and $50,000 a year for a help desk role. So that's yeah. Marvin asked, how would you go about building a network? Well, you got to get a LinkedIn. You got to do some FaceTime, meeting people at events, tech events, shaking hands, exchanging business cards, building good reports with recruiters. That blast radius of how broad is my network? Who can I call right now if I need an opportunity? You know, a person once told me, you can tell a lot about a person by the 5 friends they keep around them, closest to them. So let that sink into you. If you don't have any people that you can access, you know, for opportunities, you're gonna have to change up your circle. You're gonna have to get out there, go on Meetup, go on Eventbrite, start meeting people. me see.
Yeah, and just to add to that,
Mhm.
exactly what you said. Go on Eventbrite or any of these event websites. There's
Mhm.
always people um uh advertising or having some type of seminar or whatever for free, and you can sign up for the class. Like I saw one, I wasn't able to go to it, but it was on a Saturday. It was like, or I believe it I think that ties to data science or whatever. But you just bring your laptop if you have a laptop to the event. They tell you the requirements to go. Instead of looking for, you know, what club is popping this weekend, look for a seminar or some type of training course, and there's plenty of them out there for free, where all this new technology is being uh, pushed out to the public, and you know, and go to the event and learn something and meet people. So
Yeah. So AO asks, what are the requirements for help desk, right? Requirements here. It says successful candidate shall be highly motivated self-starter, able to work independently, guided by company objectives and priorities. This is a technology position with direct responsibility for uptime or for the uptime and integrity of customer environments in desktop server and systems. Let's give a quick look at the brief description of responsibilities. The help desk technician provides support to customers regarding for level 1 plus issues and escalates as appropriate, serves as a liaison between the company and customers, conveys customer feedback and remediation documentation and knowledge sharing in all technological aspects, managed remotely to customer sites, ensuring client satisfaction, maintains accountability throughout resolution, including issue delegation or handoff. So if you think you can do this type of stuff, you know, go get your A+ and get in. But you must be have a work authorization to work in the United States. I don't know if AO is authorized to work in the United States. Is Richard Victor Dixon authorized to work in the United States?
I don't know, man. I'm gonna find out once I start after I start looking again.
Oh man, what's going on, fam?
Not much, man.
You on the panel, man? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah, I had a question, but I think I answered it myself. I was reading something I got 2 books on blockchain. And I think I answered it myself, really. That's why I really didn't. I wasn't really saying that. I was thinking about, okay, if I'm developing eventually on Bitcoin, like with the side chain, you could do smart contracts on the Bitcoin blockchain too. But I was trying to visualize in my head about because they say you've taken away third party middleman institutions, but I was thinking the company still gonna have to pay me, so it's still third party in to a certain extent. You get what I'm saying? So I was thinking, I was trying to wrap my head around that.
Not necessarily. Third party is an unnecessary person who's arbitrary to the process. You would, if you're operating in that regard, then you are part and partial to the process itself.
Yeah, because they need me.
Right.
But say, all right, let's take the notary as out. I mean, you need the person that's doing the notary, but they still, but I was reading something they consider them third party. I don't know. Maybe I got it wrong. I don't know, maybe I'm thinking about it wrong.
Well, it could be third party if they are not essential, right? They're third party because they're a different entity, but they may not be an essential entity to the process,
Mm-hmm.
right? We really don't need the post office. If you really think about it, we get all our mail through email. When's the last time you ever went to the post office and bought a stamp?
Yeah, you're right about that. All I use is email. Shoot.
Most people pay their bills online.
Mm-hmm.
No real reason to have a post office anymore. So they're an obsolete entity within the process of mail distribution because everything is electronic now. So, hey, now that I got you here, you and Keep It Techie, man, owe us a dirty self hip hop as a science, man, live stream, man. Y'all been ducking the fade. Been ducking the fade.
Oh, I missed that. I really want to get on for that one too, man. Y'all was doing the hip hop as a science series. Because
well,
I
we
got
been waiting on y'all,
I
man.
to say about that actually.
Been waiting on y'all, man. You went to DR and Keep It Tech even, taking trips every here and there, man. Y'all stick up for the dirty South, but when it come to that live stream, y'all duck the fade, man. Y'all was out.
Oh man, I'm gonna make sure I'm at the next one, man.
Yeah, I don't want to divert the stream, but man, I got a lot to say.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got a lot to say, man.
Yeah, I hope y'all write it.
Y'all be trying to talk down on the South, man, when it comes to hip hop,
man. We ain't talk down on the South, man. Nah, y'all South don't represent, man. That's the problem, man.
You crazy? We was going in the South in the 90s. What it was, y'all the publication wasn't on our side, so y'all missed out on all the great groups we had. There's so many great groups that's classics to us. They're just now going back, giving these groups credit. But you should have gave them their credit when it was time, and they was doing their thing back then.
It's like fine wine, man. It's like fine wine. That thing age, the longer it age, the better it gets, man. So
yeah.
But make sure y'all write y'all summaries down, man, and give us that synopsis on the Dirty South and music, man, because y'all did a lot of woofing in the chat, but y'all wasn't coming up with that smoke though. A lot of woofing.
I got you.
Yeah.
I don't want you coming up here talking about I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Nah, that ain't good enough, man. Time you out like O'Shea.
You got the right one
right to the wall.
You got the right one with me.
Oh yeah, you better.
I listen to music from everywhere.
Oh yeah,
but I could definitely argue for the South though.
You better do a whole lot of arguing. You better get your boy on. Yeah, let me.
It's a lot of unhidden history.
Well, you better tell all of it, man, because we still waiting for it. We talked about New York. We talked about the West Coast. No, we can't do it tonight, man. It's a tech hang.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I know you.
All right, let me get to some of these other questions. Has anyone tried the DAP University? I have never heard of that. That's a Lionel question. Yeah, AO. So we read the requirements, man. If think the requirements are good enough for you, then go ahead and apply. You don't really need a certification for it, but a certification won't hurt you. Hey, Art New Star, what's going on, brother? Yeah, the Dirty South. That's the nickname in hip hop of how they classify the South, because the music is so gutter.
Speaking. Oh no, go ahead.
Richard Dixon's favorite track is "Whoop That Trick."
See, I was trying to leave that alone, man.
Yeah, man. Cocaine Kells is a big Dirty South fan, man. So,
Hey, man, I can't help that the boom bap didn't age like fine wine. Used this after you did. I would argue that a lot of the '90s Southern rap aged better than a lot of the New York stuff did.
oh, here he goes, man.
Because we knew how to use live instruments with the sampling.
Well, yeah, y'all
A
got
lot of
the
that
marching
sampling
bands
sounds
down
so
here.
outdated now. But you
You
listen
gotta-
to a lot of the '90s stuff, that live instruments kept it. It sounds so smooth and actually better now. You know, you had
Hey, you must be.
You had so many great producers from the South. That's just not
You must.
credit. Like Manny Fresh.
You must be a UGK fan.
Yeah, Pimp C. You had Mike
Ooh.
Dean. You had Mike Dean and what was the other dude that was on Rap a Lot? They was in-house producers for them. You know, Manny Fresh. Like he's one of the greatest of all time. He the best. Like I can go on.
I thought it was Beats by the Pound.
Beats, yeah, that was for No Limit. Them too. One of the greatest ever.
Well, make sure you write all this stuff down, man, because the smoke gotta come.
Nah, I ain't got it. It's just gonna keep. It's gonna keep flowing out. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
There was a time when the South was trying to get like New York. Now New York trying to get like the South because that's where the momentum went. But still, you had Southern
I'm with you though. It is garbage now. Like
well,
it's a shallow. It's a shadow of what the South was. Like the South was just as diverse as the East and the West Coast back then. But now you can't tell that because you know it's just so cartoonish now.
Yeah, you got a lot of cartoon rappers running around with dresses. So, Josh's favorite bars was wobbly wobbly wobbly.
drop it like
Let's not act like y'all didn't have the little ringtone type songs coming out of New York too now.
Oh man, you was a little Flip fanboy. Come on, man.
Let's not act like y'all, you know. Let's not act like
chicken noodle soup with a soda on the side.
Let's not act like Noriega was a great. Let's not act like Noriega was a great rapper now. I mean, let's not. You know, all them dudes up there wet and lyrical, man.
Man.
You know,
if you really put the lyrics together, the lyrics might go over your head. But if you really sit down and analyze the lyrics, then you know.
One of my favorite groups is Wu-Tang. You can't talk to me about lyrics, man. I know lyrics.
Now I'm a big 8-Ball MJG fan, so.
Okay, you know, yeah. Suave House. That was one of the greatest labels out the South back then.
Oh yeah, man.
Everybody was lyrical on Suave House. 8-Ball MJG. South Circle. You had Tila. His first album was a classic. Everybody was sliding on Suave House.
Teflon Don.
That's definitely an example. Yeah, I was thinking about it. So yeah.
Dre Raphael says, yo, Mike, should I be prioritizing crypto or gold and silver? This is not a financial, this is not economics. That was last night. But you might want to talk to Lionel about that. She said Lil Flip owns tons of property. Yeah, he liked to flip a lot of property too. See, y'all come up in here defending the South. Then when cats start putting pressure on them, well, you gotta look at New York too. Nah, I don't gotta look at New York. Y'all defending the South. Don't deflect and put it on whack rappers coming out of New York. Everybody, every region had whack rappers.
When it comes down to it, it's about power, man. The South in the 90s didn't have no publication and media power. All the publications in the media was coming out of New York.
Yeah, because that was the Mecca.
Of course, and everybody respects that. Like,
Yeah, but y'all had powerful radio stations down in the South. So
That was controlled by
but
up
it's
north.
still, yeah,
No.
exactly.
Yo,
It's
now you
still-
trying to say it's payola.
It was.
I mean,
It
it
still
pretty
did
much was.
overwhelm the mainstream media. I mean, that's why the rap game the way it is now, cause of that same media. It was just
It was so-
progressing. It was just progressing until what it is now. You know. See, people forget the South had actually the most independent rap labels back then, and that's why it was so good back then. Whereas now you don't see that now. Everybody, you know, it's just the huge record labels. They can't even decipher what's good and bad, but they picking just whatever garbage that's off a SoundCloud or whatever. And they promote that, but most of us would be like, why you even got this dude? Nobody even checking for that, but you promoting and shoving it down people's throat.
Oh, because it's about who's exclusive, right? Who got the latest track? What's buzzing, right? It doesn't matter if it's hot or not, as long as they're the first person to break it or the first place to break it, then that justifies it. Well, you know, Cocaine Kells, you know, she's defending the South again. Mike, that's not a good argument. We have Jay Prince. Okay. Jay,
Rap a lot, my favorite label of all time, man.
Yeah, I mean, how can anybody deny Rap a Lot, man?
They got so many classics coming off that label.
Yeah, but
forget Face. You ain't even got to use Scarface. Like,
you know, here's what we're gonna do, because I'm gonna give you guys a week.
We gonna do a Dirty South hip hop and science.
We're gonna do it for next Saturday.
That's what's up. Okay.
You better pull up too.
Nah, I'm gonna be there for that.
Yeah,
I'll be there.
Yeah, you better write down. You better write down everything that you got, because I don't want to hear some. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. I forgot my lines. You know, up in the studio burning time.
Man, I'm a connoisseur. I'm gonna go into all the mainstream stuff to that underground stuff I know you don't know about, and I can speak to the history of how to this day the regional influences that still affect even to this day. Like, people know who they is. Y'all don't know who they is. Just like a lot of people down here don't even know a lot. I know because I know I like to know my history. But ain't nobody down here listening to MOP. I ask one of these dudes who that is. They can be like, who is that? Some of these dudes don't even know who Wu-Tang is. They don't care about that stuff.
Yeah, that's how
this hip hop is very regional, even from back then, even to now.
It shouldn't be regional now. It should be completely connected, because you live in a globalized economy for hip hop.
Well, I'm saying from the but it's based off how broke up it was. The foundation was broke up. And the only reason we know about New York and West Coast, like I say, it was forced down to the mainstream media to us. But the mainstream wasn't covering the South. So that's where the fracture lies at. And that's why it was a whole different history going on back in the 90s in the South. That was way different from that wasn't even being shown.
All right, so we'll start with the origins for the South, and then we'll go all the way up to modern day. You pick your favorite artists, the favorite bars, and the favorite track that you like.
I can do that easily. I already got an outline in my head right now.
Like, well, we know what Josh likes, man. It's just that 504 boys.
I mean, the booty shake stuff. I mean, hey, I got I ain't gonna get.
I'm a huge UGK fan, bro. So I mean, I'm a huge UGK fan, and A-Bar MJG, and that Cash Money stuff, like from the early 90s.
Cash Money is classic.
BG, Turk, the whole Hot Boys, all that.
And I got another argument, because I already know how Michael kind of come. Well, it wasn't no conscious rap. I already got an argument for that. I got an argument for every way you can come with.
Oh, I can't wait, man. Y'all got months.
I got
to
an
do this, man.
argument. I got the conscious rappers that y'all wasn't listening to, but we had. I got it every way you come. I'm gonna have an answer for you.
You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna bring Cocaine Kells to back y'all up.
Yeah, real bring it on. Yeah.
Bringing Cocaine Kells and Art Neustral. We'll bring him up here too, because y'all did a lot of woofing over the summer. And now that y'all on the panel now, oh, what about Bitcoin? What about blockchain? Oh, what about that smoke though? What about that?
Exactly. Somebody mentioned Outkast, Good Amount. Dungeon Family probably was like the face, but it was other groups too, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, this is crazy, man. We got to end this live stream because we done went off topic, man.
Yeah, I already know. I ain't
Yeah.
trying to. Don't blame me, man.
Oh yeah, I got to blame you now, man.
Yeah,
Hold you
yeah.
accountable now. Yeah, so next Saturday, man, Hip Hop as a Science, Dirty South edition. You gonna lead it off too. I'm gonna give you the hosting privileges.
I already know. I'm gonna leave it off.
I'm gonna make you the host, and you can mute me, and you can kick me off the panel and all that.
Nah, man. I need you better, man. You know, I need you to take notes too when I'm going, man. You know.
Look at that. We got a thumbs down. Just talking about the Dirty South, man. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Because you talking down though. That's what they coming down for.
That's some bullshit, man. That's some bullshit. Yeah, see, Keep It Techie is all about the South, man. LSU won, and now he's all about that, right?
Yeah.
Oh, see?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I mean, like I said on that last one or the one before that, you know, it's all about your demographic, what you grew up in, and when you was introduced to hip hop. So, and forced me to, you know, do research because I started listening. I went through a phase where I was listening to them, but New York rappers, you know, Nas. I'm a fan of Nas. I'm a fan of, you know, Big. But I still had to go back to my roots, you know what I'm saying? Because that's what people's listen to down here. And then if they still releasing music, that's, you know, that's what people riding around in their car listening to. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Techie, don't worry. I got this, bro. I'll put this
Already.
on my shoulder here. I
Already.
even got an argument that I'm gonna blame New York for the way that the game went.
Oh man,
It's gonna be on point too.
It better be a strong argument. You better hope that Art Neustral and Cocaine come up here and back y'all up, man. Or else,
The thing, I ain't gonna need nobody to back me up.
objection,
It's
Your Honor.
just gonna be
Objection overruled.
It's gonna be a chair on top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got your back regardless.
There we go.
Hey, I appreciate it, bro.
Oh yeah. All right, man. Thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if you're not already done so, and share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. If you want IT mentorship, you're trying to get into IT for the first time and want an IT mentor, we do offer IT mentorship here. If you're trying to go from one IT role to another and need some IT coaching, we do offer that here. If you're trying to have your resume looked at and work on salary negotiations, we do offer that here. And if you need help with recruiting, job recs, Nagone 11 does offer that. All right. Shalom to everyone.